Anybody been watching wrestling? Anybody watch? I know I think there was a pay-per-view this weekend, Monday Night Raw. I mean, there's so many hours of wrestling. Anyone tune into Impact this week because of AEW showing up? What have you guys been watching? Anything good? Anything inspiring? How about you, Vinny? What have you been watching?
I mean, I watch a lot of old school. Like last week, I watched the original Midnight Express, Loverboy Dennis and Ravishing Randy versus the Midnight Rockers, Sean and Marty from AWA. It was a really good match. I
All
liked
right,
it.
smarten me up. You said the original Midnight Express?
Yeah, the original Midnight Express. So when
As opposed to who? Who the Midnight Express? Maybe everybody knows.
okay, so I mean, it depends on who you ask because the Midnight Express could be Loverboy Dennis and Beautiful Bobby, or
Okay.
it could be Beautiful Bobby and Sweet Stan.
Okay.
Those
what
those
about
two are the more famous duos of the Midnight Express.
what about Bodacious Bob and I don't know what Bob Holly was called.
Bodacious Bob and
Oh,
Bombastic
there
Bart.
you go. There you go. What about them?
Bro, that's the new Midnight Express. That
Oh, they
ain't,
don't count. They don't count.
that's
I didn't think so
that's
either.
90s, you can't try and recreate it.
So what do? You just you turn on YouTube and you fall down a rabbit hole or something, or you're looking for something specific?
I kind of just go down some rabbit holes on the network.
Okay.
But if you do go on YouTube, you can get a lot of some things that aren't on the network in terms of the Midnight Express versus the Rock and Roll Express. If you want to see very good heel versus tag team wrestling, you can get Loverboy Dennis and Beautiful Bobby versus Ricky and Robert from like 85 to like 87. And then you can get it when Sweet Stan comes in.
What do you like about those matches, Vinny?
I just like the realism that Loverboy Dennis brings to the Midnight Express. Like to me, I like Loverboy Dennis and Beautiful Bobby more than any of the other versions. That's my favorite version of the Midnight Express. I think they gel well together because Beautiful Bobby, he was not necessarily a high flyer, but he flew more than Loverboy Dennis. And I felt like Beautiful Bobby flew at the times that he needed to fly because, if they're doing squash matches, right? Like, or even in a regular tag team match, their opponent is just on the floor, has had his ass kicked the whole time. And that's when Beautiful Bobby goes to the top rope to hit that splash because he's like, well, fuck it. Like, what are they going to do? I've been whooping their ass the whole match. So it's like if he hits it, yeah, his cockiness proved off. But if he misses, it's like that's why you don't go to the top rope unless that's your move. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the Rock and Roll Express, I mean, holy crap.
Yeah.
Like if you guys listen to Pops and how over they were, especially with like young girls or, young girls really, and any girl really they were over with. I mean, they could get them just cheering for him. And Ricky Morton can sell like no other. And if you get them doing a blade job in the middle of a match and you got the color going and, Ricky's selling and he's reaching for Robert, it makes it that much even better. And then Jim Cornette on the side running his mouth, saying some funny shit,
Was Jim Cornette was with the Midnight Express, right? Bobby and
he was with Bob, he was with Bobby and Dennis and then Bobby and Stan.
So where are you watching this? This is like NWA, right?
Yeah, Jim Crockett Promotions.
Jim
If you
Crockett.
want, Loverboy Dennis and Beautiful Bobby, and then if you want Ravishing Randy and Loverboy Dennis, then that's more of AWA.
Now, don't get me wrong. I love me some Midnight Express. I love me some Bobby Eaton. That's why I do the leg drop from the top rope. I think I'm doing the Alabama Jam or Alabama Jammer. But man, I could never really get into them. I mean, I'm a road warrior, Mark, so I would always look at them and be like, man, they're all out of shape. Just because of that, I could never get into them. And no, I watch their stuff, and it's so good. I mean, same thing with the Brainbusters, Totally and Arn. I couldn't get into them. I was all about Road Warriors, or even who is it, Barbarian and Warlord? What were they called?
They were in Jim Crockett Promotions. They're Paul Jones' Army, but then when they got signed by Vince, they got turned into the Powers of Pain.
Look at you, man! We're gonna call you the encyclopedia.
Dude, I love I love pro wrestling. Like I know a lot about pro wrestling. And then like you're talking about Arn. To me, Arn is the greatest pro wrestler of all time. Like his interview style is like, I mean, you believe everything he says, and like the way, like when he takes his glasses off and he just stares at the floor while, Tony Schiavone's asking him those questions. And then when he looks up, you just see it in his eyes and you believe it when it comes out of his mouth. And then especially when he's in the heat, when he's working a baby face, there's no wasted motion. he's just on that baby face 24/7 unless, he's bumping for him. And he could bump he does really good snap bumps, which I like. So I love watching Arn. And then I would say for me, it's Arn and Beautiful Bobby, like they're neck and neck.
Yeah. Hey, what do you think? What would you say if I told you Arn Anderson is the same whether he's a face or a heel?
I think I would believe it, because I think that
Right.
he's one of those few that can pull off that same character of being a face or a heel, because when he was a heel, yeah, he would do a lot of the cheating and the heel tactics, like raking the eyes, using the ropes, reaching for a Tully or JJ, when he's got him in a submission. But like in terms of like his promos, he wasn't really down talking anybody. He would build up his opponents, but tell him that the reason why that he's going to be better is because he's part of the Four Horsemen. That would basically be the go around. Like, oh, like okay, so when Lex Luger left the Horsemen, right? I think I mentioned this promo a couple weeks back. When Lex Luger left the Horsemen, Arn went on the camera and basically said, "Hey, you're built. You look like $1,000,000. You look like a movie star. You are the total package. But that's only because you're part of the Four Horsemen. Without us, you're just another man." So he built him up, but he didn't really say why he wouldn't lose to Lex, because he's just saying he's better because he's part of the Four Horsemen.
I often think when I tell people about, hey, you're a face, and I think a lot of students coming into the wrestling school, the majority of them, and I think even you, Vinny, everybody wants to be a heel. Everybody. There's about 80 to 90% of students coming in. Everybody wants to be a heel. That's what I wanted to be. I've always wanted to be a heel. I wanted to be the bad guy. And I always like to tell people, well, for the most part, everyone's going to start out as a face, for a couple of reasons. It's the heel's gonna drive the match. But also, if that's what you want to do, I want you to be a face. If you wanted to say you wanted to be a face, I'd make you the heel, because I'd want to try to get that over. But I think that being a face always gets a bad rap, and I always try to tell people when I think about guys like obviously Stone Cold Steve Austin, but also Arn Anderson. And I think about Arn Anderson as in when he's a face, he's still a man. He's not a goody two shoes. Like, he's still a pro wrestler. He's still a badass. Just because you're a face doesn't mean you can't be a badass. And I think Arn Anderson is a great example of that when he was a face. Obviously he's a heel, but then also there's that you have Stone Cold Steve Austin. I think being a face is always a bad rap. I think it's harder, right? It's easy to say, tell the crowd, fuck you, or whatever, and get heat, or, even if it's cheap heat. But to get them to really like you, to genuinely like you, it is a lot harder to be a face. But when you learn to master that, and you learn, or if you just learn the ropes and learn how to be a face a little bit, understand that when I show that I'm in pain, or I show that I'm selling, I show my fire and my comebacks, you start understanding how to drive the crowd, and there's nothing better than actually being a face.
So
Really is.
if I can throw in an example.
Yeah.
Oh, I was just gonna say real quick. I did the Young Lions Cup this past Saturday, right? And they had me as a heel, but in one match it was that I did, it was heel versus heel, and I took the heat, but the crowd was getting behind me. So then at that point I realized, well, okay, I'm kind of in the middle where I need to be a heel, but they're getting behind me. So as I was firing up, I kind of was doing a little bit of a babyface turn, but I still kind of was a heel. And I feel like what you're saying, like I have that issue too. Whenever, if we were to run a show tomorrow and I showed up and you said, hey, you're going to work a baby face, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to look like Rick Martel, in the WWF, just doing, all this, yeah, come on kind of thing. But I realized when I did that second match, and then my next match that I had when I came out, they were cheering me, but I wasn't doing, all this. I was just acting like Vinny, eyes on the prize, trying to be a badass. And I was like, okay, I'm kind of understanding that I can still be a babyface without having to do that extra, yeah, come on, BS.
Right, and it's trial and error. What works, what doesn't work, right? And then also you'll learn in different towns, different thing. You wrestle in Los Angeles and you're a face. You could be a face. You go to Tennessee and it's a different story. Who are you? And you look LA. That's what I learned, is that when I went to Tennessee, like, I looked LA. They could tell. Didn't matter if they tried to make me a face. I wasn't gonna be one. Matt, did you have a question, or you wanted to add to that? Matt, and then Shane.
Yeah, I did a bit. I've been kind of going through all my stuff, and I know that I was planning on doing heel stuff and everything like that. But I feel like the more I do this, and I don't know if it's just because I don't have anyone I'm in a program with or something, but when I'm doing the promos, I feel like they should be face promos. So I don't know if that's me thinking too much about it, or if I should actually try to do this as a face, if that
Well,
makes sense.
really, you got to ask yourself, like, what do I want to do? So if you want to do a heel, be a heel. I always like to explain a heel as, a heel does have a fan base, even in the realm of, like, even how many people love Joker, and he's a heel. And then also thinking a heel also thinks in the thought of, I'm being justified. This is justice for me, you know? So I don't think they ever like, there are heels that obviously I am bad, but they're thinking I'm justifying, and I'm getting rid of the Batman, so that way it could be a better city for my Jokers or whatever the case is, right? He's got a reasoning behind what he's doing. So like, even so, if you're saying that, maybe that could be the justification in your head, But if you want to be a heel, I would be a heel. There are going to be some times, right, where like, when you're like, if you're in your hometown, people are gonna tend to like you a little bit more, especially if you've been there for a little bit. Even then, they know you're the heel all day, because we understand pro wrestling. Oh, I love this guy. I love to hate him. That's what people would say. So when you're from your hometown, they give you a little bit more leeway. When you go somewhere else, it's a completely different story. So when you start can think about it that way a little bit, that there is an incredible amount of gray, and it's not just black and white, and also at the same time, like, even in lucha and forever, there would be rudos and technicos, and it wouldn't just be the wrestlers, it would be the fans. They would call the fans rudos or technicos. Are you a rudo or technico? Not a wrestler. No. Who do you root for? Oh, I love the heels. I love the rudos. And there's just this whole group of fans that love rudos, and there's a whole group of fans that love technicos. No matter what, doesn't matter who you are. Matt, you come in at AAA, you're a technical, they're gonna love you. That's it. You know. So I think if you could start thinking in those terms, because, like, there's an incredible amount of gray in your character. If you're thinking there's aspects in your character that people like, and maybe I should be a face, definitely explore that. But if you want to be the heel, you can't keep it there and be that heel. There's a great promo with I think I told you guys about the Shawn Michaels in Montreal, right? Everyone hates Shawn Michaels, and Jericho was the heel, and they cheered Jericho. They're not supposed to, right? So, but by the end of it, these two icons, Shawn and Jericho, they flipped them. By the end of the night, they knew Shawn Michaels screwed Montreal, right? And they were cheering him because they flipped them, right? So it's all about how you want to go about it, and how dedicated you are. Sometimes the best bet is to go with it. Maybe you're not good enough to flip them. That takes an incredible amount of skill, and I'll try to find that one and post it today. But hope that helps you out a little bit, Matt. Shane's still with us? Shane, do you want to add to that, or do you have a question?
Hey, Coach. No, just about your point about the face, that he doesn't have to be like a goody two shoes or anything like that. So he doesn't have to be like a white meat baby face or whatever. But you're talking about like a badass baby face. Would that still be the same as like a tweener or whatever? Because what I found was, when I started first, regardless if I started off as a face for the reasons you stated, so that I'd be led through a match. But I can't wrestle. I find it very hard to wrestle like a face, if you get what I'm saying. Like, my
Right.
style is kind of aggressive and stuff like that. And would I be the tweener in that, or is that just,
So you can definitely.
tweener against the heel? Would that make sense, or whatever? That kind of way.
So you could definitely think of it as a tweener, but I mean, even in characters throughout cinema or just throughout history, there's a lot of characters that are like, let's look at I forget the guy's name. He's Scottish, from Braveheart. But yeah, I know it's Mel Gibson. But anyways, right? But he was brutal and he was badass, but he was fighting for the greater good of his people. So his people weren't slaves anymore to the English. And so I think if you think of it that way, right? I get that we want to think that there's there's that gray line, being a tweener. Stone Cold was always called a tweener, but when you really think about it, a lot of people like Stone Cold because we can relate to him. A lot of people didn't like their boss. Their boss would always make them work late, take the weekends off, and you had to work the weekends, and he would take the credit, and you wouldn't get any credit. So everyone would say that when he's stunnering Vince McMahon, his boss, I can relate to that because I wish that were me, And in the grand scheme of things, yeah, that's a bad employee, right? But I think that everybody can understand it and relate to it. That's what made him an incredible face. You can still call him a tweener, but he was just like really lopsided on the face side, 100%. So I think if you find it hard to be a face, I would encourage you to keep practicing it, keep trying it. Right? Obviously, watch the guys like Ricky Steamboat. Watch guys who are great faces. Throughout the history professional wrestling. Maybe your character is like a Jerry Lynn, who's always been a face. He never rarely was a heel, right? Maybe not the standout character that you may be looking for, but definitely you're going to find something and grab something from that, from watching it. So there's a lot of different characters, not just in professional wrestling or movies, but just throughout history that we can follow and find. But yeah, you will probably be called a tweener, but I think we still got to think about it in the face and heel aspect, even though it is a huge shade of gray.
Well, I suppose it's up to the audience. If the audience cheer you, you're the face. Would you agree with that? And if you're booed, you're the heel.
100%. 100%. I would agree with it until I saw Shawn Michaels and Jericho, where they were just cheering Jericho, and they were like, "No, man, this is not what's supposed to happen, so we're going to turn them." And they probably even knew the psychology going into it from the go. We know that Shawn is going to be hated going in. And I thought that was an incredible skill. So I don't totally get the understanding of, man, if they're just loving you and they're not buying Wasco as a heel and they're buying him as a face, and they love everything that he does, yeah, let's go with it. It's a lot easier. But what makes your wrestling put you on a different levels when you can actually stop their cheers and turn them around and get them to hate you. So that's what I think would be the ultimate professional wrestler, saying, no, this is my job and I'm actually going to stick to it. Obviously, there's going to come times where you say, this is my job, I'm going to stick to it, and nothing works and it just won't work. But you'll have to go through those trials to find the success. You know what I mean? See what worked, what didn't work, and then really think about the psychology of it, because, we think about running the ropes and taking bumps and superplex and the nice flip move off the top rope. But man, having that ability to really control and conduct this crowd, because this is how it's supposed to be. I think that goes a long way in your wrestling, I think definitely you should. So if you're not going to do that, if you don't have the ability to do that, go with it. I definitely would go with it. Because
what match is that, can I ask?
What's that?
What match is that Jericho Michaels? What match was it?
It's a promo, and they're going out there and they're like for 10 minutes, and it's like for 5 minutes straight where they are cheering Jericho, right? He's Canadian, and they're in Montreal. So like 3 years prior, Shawn Michaels screwed over Bret, and everybody knew it, and so they hated Shawn Michaels. But Shawn was on his comeback, right? And he was like on the Bible thumping streak, doing his God gimmick, and so he was a face, and he wanted to play a face. Jericho was a little bit older, wanted to play the heel, and so when they went, they just loved Jericho. Plus, because they hated Shawn so much that they were like, doesn't matter that he's supposed to be a heel, we love him. But they turned him right in the middle of that promo, and I thought it was great. And they got right back on track, because the pay-per-view was probably in Florida, somewhere in the United States, where it was going to be face and heel, Shawn the face, Jericho the heel. So it's really incredible. And when I see guys do it, like I've seen guys do it live at wrestling shows, and I think it's really inspiring to actually watch. I try to do it. I get it a lot. Like if I'll wrestle one of the students, whether it's like Brody King or Jake. Brody was just incredibly popular, so I didn't have any problem with that. But with Jake Atlas, I had to, going into it, I'm the face of Santino Brothers, and people do like me, right? They like seeing me, so I tried to turn them, and I tried my idea of trying to turn them was like saying, hey, Jake, if I beat you, then I'm going to take 25% of your contract, or I think it was 50% of your contract, and trying to get heat from the crowd that says, well, we actually like this guy because he talks to us and he answers our questions online, this, that, and the other. So try to do something saying, hey, this is not personal, this is business. This is the way wrestling school business is and actually always was. So always just trying to think of the psychology to turn the crowd if you are supposed to be that heel. So, all right. I see that Rhea's been. So Rhea said she saw Lo Shirai off the top of the cage with a trash can on her head. Actually seen that. That's gotta be incredibly crazy. What did you think about that, Rhea?
I think it was Sasha that posted that, but I did see it and I thought it was awesome.
Yeah, I remember. I think, what did they do? I think they might have done that to Mick Foley or maybe Mikey Whipwreck, who are like hardcore guys, and there's nothing fun about a trash can, you know. There's nothing fun. There's a lot of sharp ends to the trash can, and that takes a lot of guts, right? Where even just to jump off the top of the cage as it is takes a lot of guts. Even when you're falling in the ring, right? You think, oh, I could take a bump in the ring. It's still a hard ring, you know. But to do it blind and with that trash can over your head, I just always thought when people did that were just incredible. I've seen people do a splash off the top. I don't know who is crazier, the one doing it or the one taking it, you know, because how are you bracing yourself with, you know, you're just landing on your face. But yeah, that's the stuff, right? Those are the moments that we try to build in wrestling, right? Everybody's doing everything. What can I do to stand out? You know, and I actually seen that clip. I didn't see the entire match. I didn't see the entire pay-per-view, but definitely I saw that clip going around. And that's the way sometimes you have to think, and you might only have one spot. You know, you might not have, you know, the entire match. So I thought that was really cool. Would I do it? No. Would I recommend my students to do it? Probably not. But I'll understand that you're gonna do it because I would have done it at 22 years old or when I was just young in wrestling. I like to say that, you know, when I was just young in wrestling, we tend to do a lot of stuff that we watch coming up, you know?
I think the funniest part about it too is like that's not even the craziest thing that she's ever done. Because she's done in Stardom, she did like a exploding bat match.
Really?
I'm not gonna, yeah. So it's not even like the craziest thing she's ever done.
Oh my gosh, exploding death matches. I always love watching them. My uncle Supreme loved watching them. He actually got an opportunity to be in a couple of exploding ring death matches, or there was bumps. They would throw the guy, it was Vic Grimes, they would throw him into the barbed wire, and the barbed wire they had pyro and it would just blow up, and it's an amazing sight to see. At the time I remember a lot of people talking smack about it, like, you're killing the business, you guys are killing the business, but it's incredible, crazy. Like, wouldn't you want to be an exploding bat match?
Yeah.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it's going to be a featured match, right? Right. Oh, yeah, there's Chaos. Oh, yeah, he's in the opener. Well, that's just a regular match. 2 out of 3 falls. Oh, yeah, Supreme. Yeah, he's in the exploding death match. That's what everyone came to see. You know, yeah, it's like when you're in those featured matches, it's incredible. It's really, the focus is on you. We talked about flyers, your pictures on the flyer, you know, on every flyer or whatever the case is, you know, posters and stuff like that, and just being in that featured match. Or even when you get lucky, the tickets will have your name on it. And I always thought that was really cool that some of the companies would do that. They'd bring me in and it would be Chaos would be on it. And that would be the name of the show. And I always thought that was really special and spectacular. So always being in a featured match is great. So. All right. Anything anyone else want to talk about before we get into it? Let's see. Kristen, what have you been watching?
Let's see. I basically was catching up on the links that you were putting up, and recently I saw the Ruby Rays and Tyler Bateman intergender match.
What'd you think of that?
Oh my God, Bateman's selling.
Right? Yeah, it's so good.
Oh my God, there was like also a perfectly timed swear cutoff that where basically you son of a, and then you hear just the slap and the kick to Bateman's gut.
I mean, yeah, just really Bateman and even Ruby, they just go into so much detail And Ruby will always say, yeah, Chaos, I trained at Santino Brothers. And I'll always say, hey, like I polished her up, but like Bateman did all the hard work, taught her how to roll, taught her how to actually grapple, the headlocks, how to sell, all that stuff was just all Bateman really just taking his time and selling and very methodical in everything that he does. And I thought Eli was the one that directed that show, Eli Everfly. And I thought some of the camera angles when she's bleeding and he's pulling Sarah's hair back and kissing his new lady, and she's there and Ruby's there bleeding. Just incredible, right? Making you feel something, definitely making you feel something. Speaking of, I actually watched. I don't know if anybody else did. I watched Kristen's promo. She threw 2 promos on there, and I got the opportunity. She sent me a book that she's working on, and I got to see the story of Aunt Heidi, and it was great. And I was telling you on the Facebook group, I was telling you it was so great because I got a chance to see it. I got a chance to read the 13 or so pages that you sent me, and I thought it was so great because then I was watching your promo, and you're so animated that Sylvia said, "What are you watching?" And I said, "Oh, I was watching on the phone." So she stayed there and watched it with me, and so I had the chance to read the 13 pages. She didn't, but when she watched it, she had said, like, that is like one of the best vignettes promos that I've seen in wrestling today. Like, it's just so great, and it's just like so riveting in what you're doing. And then I told her, I said, to me, it was a little bit different because I had read the story. And it was so great to see you adapt that to real life and actually bring it to life, and bring an actual scene from the story. And I thought it was so great. And I thought it was money. I really thought it was money on how to submit some of your stories if you're trying to get booked. And I would definitely help you and encourage you to maybe, I don't know if you have a goal to try to get to Championship Wrestling from Hollywood or anything, but I would encourage you to I'd like you to write something, and then I'll submit it to the writers, Aaron and Nick. And then I think it'll go over well because I think that it's going to be helping them out, showing that you're writing a story, and I think that'll really help, because really seeing it come to life, it's just like, I think that's what great wrestling is, right? Making you feel something, making you think something, making you want to actually what's next, say what's next. And I thought that's what you delivered in those promos, and I wasn't able to say any of that in writing it, so that's why I wanted to mention it here, because I thought it was really good and you're onto something. And I would definitely stick with it, and don't go astray with it, because I think that's that would be your moneymaker, is the character. And I've always said, right, if you're ever having, you talked about SoCal Uncensored giving you terrible reviews, right? So if you're having a hard time with the wrestling, I always say, hey, you can be an okay wrestler, but if you have a great character, or if you know how to cut promos, that's what's really going to take you to that next level, and that's what you would have that, some wrestlers don't have. That's what a young Chaos didn't have. I was able to wrestle, I was able to work, do all these cool moves, but when it came to, characters or personality, I was nothing. You would have to put me with a manager if you wanted to get help. So yeah, definitely let's think about it. We'll email each other, and I'll give you some parameters to work on. And let's submit. I can't make any promises, but definitely this is the way to go, right? You have to be persistent in delivering it, right? And you have to be okay with getting no. They're going to say no. Okay, cool. All right, I'm going to rewrite it, and I'm going to try to submit it again, and I'm going to change it up a little bit. I got new gear, I got different colors, this, that, and the other, and we're going to resubmit it and try something different, and see if that works. And so, and that's just the name of the game, right? You submit 10, you might get 1 response. Maybe you get 2 responses, and then 1 will say, yes, I'll book you, right? And that's just how it is. I think it's more like, yeah, it's like 10 to 1, right? 100, you get 10, you'll get 10 bookings out of 100 asked. So that's just how it works. So I thought it was really good.
Thank you, sir. I have props to my brother for letting me tackle him over and over again until we got the take right.
I thought that was great. Yeah, I thought it was great. And I think keeping that creativeness with the ideas and the vignettes and the promos that you're doing, I think would be really good. And it's kind of refreshing. I don't know if I see it enough in pro wrestling much anymore. Right now, I think there's just a lot of backstage stuff, as opposed to, there used to be, like when I was coming up, there was just a lot of vignettes going out to different areas. There'd be or Mankind in a house, and he would just be cutting a promo in a house. They wouldn't even fight; it would just be just showing it there. So, I think it's good. I think it's really creative. So stick to it.
Oh, thank you. But yeah, I also got the idea from Height's promo where he basically got around the doing the first person thing. I just basically flipped it and used it as a cheat, so I wouldn't have to edit two of me in the scene.
Yeah, I thought it was good, and I think about Hyde when I think of Aunt Heidi, right? Obviously the names, but the characters are pretty similar, and it could be a faction, right? It could be a team or something. I think it could be good, and right, it's always about throwing stuff to the wall, right? People might say, well, man, I don't want a team with Aunt Heidi. Well, a Young Chaos didn't want a faction, and I didn't want TJ. It was TJ Rush was with me, and Veronica Kane, and GQ Money, and Steve Rosano, and I was like, man, I'm just gonna get watered down in this, and I don't want to be part of a faction. I just want to be my own wrestler. And little did I know that being in that faction was like made me a superstar. Like it was like I had my own people, and I was the one wrestling the match, and I didn't understand that. And sometimes, and if I look back at some of the best times in my career, was the short 3 years or two years that I was with the Enterprise faction in XPW. But I totally didn't want anything to do with it. But this is what they're giving you. Make it work. All right, make it work. I was like, I'm doing this is what I would say. I'm doing all the hard work, and they're getting all my pops. Like, you know what I mean? Like, come on, man. Like, I'm taking all the bumps, and they're going in there for one or two cool moves and getting a pop, and then I got to go in there and go back to work, and I'd feel that inside, But little did I know, Young Chaos didn't know that was actually really good for me. It's like people cared about your character to put other characters with you. So it drove a long way. So my wife Sylvia was the merch girl at the time, and she says that the Enterprise merch sales were through the roof. And if I would have known that, if I was smart enough to know that, I would have made more money. But I wish I did, but I didn't. So, all right. All right, let's see here. So we're going to talk a little bit about my Chaos's pro wrestling tips. We'll probably start it off with some code of conduct. And then I also pulled William Regal's tips on being a pro wrestler. I think that's more specific for a WWE wrestler, but I know that that's many of your goals, is to be a WWE wrestler. So I pulled that, and I'll post that also. Some of you might have read it. He posted a lot. If you guys do follow, or if you don't, I would follow William Regal on Twitter or wherever you find him. Guys like maybe Rip Rogers also. Look up some of these trainers that just really provide a lot. Bob Evans is another good one that provide a lot of information daily on their social media. And there's a lot of tips that you can get out of it. They're giving all their information out, all their best stuff. So I definitely would follow them.
Mike Quackenbush is another one to probably follow.
Yeah, I was gonna say Dr. Tom Pritchard. Dr. Tom is great, man. Like he's incredible. Like I'm over here, right? I'm just an indie guy, and I had Dr. Tom reach out to me on LinkedIn, and he was like, "Hey Joe, I just want to let you know what you're doing at Santino Brothers is so great. Keep it up." And I'm like, "Man, he's the man." Like, you know what I mean? So it's always a great feeling when you got somebody that you're looking up to and give you an attaboy. Or whatnot. It's always really good to let you know that you're on the right track and you're doing something right, So, but I would definitely follow Dr. Tom Pritchard. He gives a lot of great tips, even just on promos and filming. Like he doesn't even really get into the promos. He's just talking a lot about film and landscape. Have a good, don't film with the light in the background. Some stuff that what I might think is common knowledge isn't common knowledge to everybody. So he's another good one to follow. I think Tyson Dukes. Is it Tyson Dukes? Does that sound familiar, Vinny? He's doing a lot of how-tos. Yeah, he's doing a lot of how-tos.
Sin Bodhi does a lot of how-tos and a lot of Q&As and stuff.
Yeah, and there's Vinny will probably give you a link. They have like a
so what it was when the pandemic happened, Sim Bodhi has his own school in Vegas. He's the head trainer for FSW, Future Stars Wrestling. And what happened was when the pandemic happened, he basically took over their little group page, kind of similar how we have ours on Facebook. He took theirs and basically said, hey, this is open to all, all aspects of experience levels, whether you're just starting, you've been training, you're a worker, all that. And I mean, he has daily Q&As. He has Q&As with guys like Al Snow, who run OVW, Gangrel, who has his own school in Florida. I believe the Monster Factory has been in there a couple of times. I'm sorry, Joey, what was his name from the Monster Factory?
Oh, Danny Cage. Danny
Yeah,
Cage is a great guy. Yeah.
yeah, he gets in there a few times, and then Tyson Ducks does a lot of how-tos, like similar how Joey and Robbie were doing before the pandemic. So he's been doing that. But yeah, I'll drop the link on how to apply and get in there. I think Hyde's in there. So it's a lot of good knowledge if you have time to, it's kind of like a podcast if you want, if you're driving, just kind of put it on there and listen to Al Snow and them talk. So definitely a good group to join.
And I think that's the greatest thing about, right, with the internet and everything today. When I was coming up, right, you'd have to sit in the car with Al Snow and drive with him to Vegas for at least 4 hours to get the knowledge out of him. Now we have these podcasts, all these videos, and we can just really, you can't really pick their brain, but they'll probably answer your questions anyway, that you have. So, but I think that's a great tool to utilize, and should be, right? And I have that listed here about being passionate about pro wrestling. We'll talk about that. So, all right. So I'll go through some of this code of conduct, and who do I have here? I have Vinny, and Sage. If you want to help and add to any of these pro wrestling tips or these chaosisms, I'd appreciate it. That would be great. So. All right, so when we first come to wrestling school, and and as I was thinking about this, I was thinking that maybe we should actually do this on the first day or second day, but we're here now, so we'll do it now. But when you come to Santino Brothers, we have a code of conduct, and everything that we have, and most of the stuff that we have, really came from Slammers. Mongo's Wrestling School, the Slammers Wrestling Gym out here in Los Angeles, California. And he had all the paperwork that really helped us make the code of conduct and have some of these pro wrestling tips for you, and so that's where they come from. They come from the Slammers Wrestling Gym that was well respected out here in Los Angeles, California. And my goal when we started Santino Brothers was, if we could just be as respected as Slammers, then I know that we conquered our goal. And I talked to Mongo, and he was like, we did that like 10 times over. So, but it's always have that inspiration, and always just keep working to try to make it better, right? So, the first one, on our code of conduct, and I'll have these kind of out of order, some of them, is respect yourself, fellow students, instructors, staff, at Santino Brothers Wrestling, right? So, you want to respect yourself, have respect for yourself, because you are, right when you walk into wrestling school, you are starting to build your brand from day one. You're going to make a impression on the coaches. You're going to make impression on whoever, the alumni, the other wrestlers, and either, the booker, there's always a booker out there, for the wrestling school, and you want to have that impression of being, a respected individual. You also want to respect your fellow students, and obviously you have to respect your instructors. For the most part, everyone here is great. When you're in class, in a lot of places, a lot of times, a lot of the instances that may happen is you may go to one wrestling school, and then, you move out of town or whatever, you go to another wrestling school, and you come in, and the coach is teaching something, and you might say, oh, I learned it this way. You want to respect your instructors. There's many different ways to do everything that we do in professional wrestling. So you don't want to disrespect your instructor, and that's going to get you off on the wrong foot. So respect is huge. Every time that I'll either have Adam Pierce, and he'll say, I had Santino guys come down, and all of them had the utmost respect for not only everybody in the back, but for professional wrestling. And I appreciate Joey. This is what Adam says. I appreciate, Joey, that you bring it up the right way. And what's the right way? The right way, the only thing I know is that it's just the respect aspect of professional wrestling. Having respect for the ring, it will hurt you. Having respect for your opponent. If you don't have respect for your opponent, they will hurt you. So I think it goes a long way, and it's your attitude. It shows in your attitude of that respect, and you'll gain it. Because you can't demand it. You can't demand the respect. You have to earn it. You know, that's the only way. The same thing is like I have to earn your respect. Is the same way. I don't just sit there and say I'm coach. I demand everybody's respect. You know, I have to earn it. You know, and I think that if you could think about that going into it, you'll be on the right track. Next one I have here is leave your attitude at the door. You know, always conduct yourself in a professional manner. You know, so everybody's got something going on in life, right? You know, I don't know. My mom's sick. I'm behind on my bills. I'm failing my classes. My car just broke down, right? Everyone's got something going on in their life. Everybody does. So what you got to do is you got to learn to put all your attention into wrestling if you're going to show up. Look, I understand it. I get it. Hey, I can't come to training today because I can't put forth my entire attention. You know, because we don't want you at training if you're going to be moonlighting and thinking about something else in the middle of drilling or while you're waiting in line. You know, that's a great way for you to get hurt. You know, that's a great way for you to hurt somebody else. You know, so not only, right, you got to leave your shit at the door, right, leave your bag at the door, but also leave your attitude at the door. You know, so, and you really have to clear your mind. Hey, maybe, I don't know, maybe your brother, your significant other pissed you off and you're mad. Don't bring that anger to the dojo. You know, it's gonna ruin your training, and you won't be there, and you're probably gonna hurt yourself or hurt somebody else. And I'll tell you what, you'd rather hurt yourself, which first of all, you don't, nobody wants to hurt themselves, but you'd rather hurt yourself than actually hurting somebody else. It's a terrible feeling. I broke a dude's ankle. I don't know if anybody watched football and watched Dak Prescott, but the way his ankle broke, that's the way I broke this guy's ankle. I didn't purposely grab it and break it like I think it's Hiro Matsuda did Hulk Hogan. No, I mean, he fought the takedown and I took him down. He was going down and his leg snapped right here. This part right here above the ankle snapped. And I'm talking to you guys today. I think it happened about 12 years ago. And it's just a terrible feeling. The ankle just went limp like that. So it's the worst thing, you know. And I always said, man, I'd rather hurt myself than to hurt somebody. It's a terrible feeling, especially as a wrestler. You know, especially as a wrestler. That's what we're not supposed to do. You know, we're supposed to do the complete opposite, make it look real. For the most part, I think another one is be ring ready. If you're 5 minutes early, you're on time. If you're on time, you're late. And I think for the most part, everybody here is pretty good about that. 5 minutes early means you're on time, right? Ready to go. Not showing up 5 minutes early to put on your boots or your knee pads, but 5 minutes early, ready to go. Okay. And I think if you just think that way, you'll always be on time. You know, no one ever wants to wait for you. Be a big stickler on starting on time and ending on time, right? Especially for those of you that are going to become promoters. There's something that we have out here that we call lucha time. What time does the show start? 8 o'clock, 6 o'clock. What time is it actually starting? 8:30. And that's lucha time. And I always hated that. And I hated it, and I hated it, and I hated it. So what I decided to do, if we're going to start at 8:30, we are going to start at 8:30, and that's it. You watch your television show, and it's on Friday at 8 o'clock. That's it. I mean, what if they were like, yeah, we're going to be an hour and a half late? You'd be like, get the hell out of here with that. You know, I'm not going to watch it again. So very important, starting on time, ending on time, being ring ready 5 minutes early. Dress appropriately, right? So, you know, and I want to tell you this, right? So all these are so when we go to wrestling school, and I'm going to be straight honest with you guys right now. Right now, we, as Santino Brothers, we have a to be determined date on where we're going to actually open the physical wrestling school. Obviously, if you're in California right now, you know that they're closing everything down, and they're all over the news again about with COVID. So, you know, hopefully with vaccine, we'll be able to open up. Maybe, you know, maybe in the summertime, maybe before, maybe in the spring. But you know, since we're not going to be able to open it, and I know people aren't going to want to wait, I have a list of schools that are actually have a ring and they're open and they're reputable out here in Los Angeles that I'm going to go ahead and give you guys, as opposed to saying wait to be determined date. So it's going to be really good to take a lot of these code of conducts to these wrestling schools, and so that's why I'm explaining them to you. Okay. So here's the other one. It was dress appropriately. Guys, no excessive bagginess of clothing, and ladies, keep your stuff to yourself. No low-cut shirts or pants. The time to show your stuff is not in training. And why? It's distracting, you know. And for the women, it's distracting to everybody. And then for the guys, if you're wearing, and then that goes for the girls too. If you're wearing anything too baggy, you're gonna, when I give you a boot to the stomach, my foot's gonna get caught in your shirt. So we don't want to wear anything too baggy either, because it's gonna get caught up in the suplex. It's gonna get caught up in the arm wringer or a headlock, and what happens when that happens? You're probably gonna get hurt. So you want to wear appropriate clothing, as if you were in gym class, right? I don't know. They didn't let me wear baggy clothing. I know that. I don't know about you guys. Next one. Be serious about training, right? I'm serious about developing you as a professional wrestler. So we expect you to take everything we teach you very seriously, you know. And if I say we, I'm speaking for pro wrestling at this point right here, you know. So be serious about it. And let me tell you why you be serious about it, because you can get hurt doing this. There's nothing safe, and you're going to have a lot of wrestlers, even reputable wrestlers like William Regal, that say, "Oh, I'll hit you in a very safe place." There is nothing safe about pro wrestling. Maybe it's safer. He'll hit you in a safer place, but there's nothing safe about professional wrestling. You know, it's tough, you know, and I learned that this in just a year and a half ago, I think it was, and we had a student here, and she did a back roll. It's kind of like if you ever seen someone do the Akana roll. I think Bret Hart would do it a lot. He would push you into the ropes, and then maybe they would hold on to the ropes. Bret Hart would hold on to the ropes, and the guy would just do a back roll. And she did a back roll, and within an hour, she was tubed up in a hospital bed going into brain surgery. And that was like a defining moment when I said, Sally, I told my wife, Sylvia, I said, I don't want to do this anymore. You know, we take everything seriously, everything we do, you know. And I would tell Mongo, I said, look, if you told me, hey, somebody took a power bomb and got a concussion, so today we're going to take it easy in training. If you told me we're going to do back rolls and O'Connor rolls, I'd be like, yeah, that's incredibly safe. It's not, you know. And this wasn't her first day. She wasn't 2 left feet. She was the top of her class, and she did a back roll. And it wasn't the first time she did a back roll. She had done this Okana back roll before. Hold on the ropes, and it's a little bit different. It's on the move. And yeah, within an hour, she was in surgery, all tubed up. And I have the picture in my phone, and I keep it in there to remind me of how serious that, even when you're taking it seriously, how dangerous professional wrestling is. Respect the ring. You know, we talked about that guy that jumped off the rope in his both legs, and I think they had to amputate his legs, right? His both legs went forward. My mom showed me that, and I said, like, that's what I told her. I told her the first thing, I said, there's nothing safe about professional wrestling. I said, I'm not going into a commercial, Ma, about go to wrestling school at Santino Brothers. I'm just like, this is just the truth, and it sucks, and it's scary. We love it. But you can't think about it. When you start thinking about this stuff, like, don't even do it no more. Don't do it, right? If this scares you too, if my story right now scares you too much to do it, then I'm doing my job. But also, right, because I want to deter you if that scares you. But if it doesn't, right, you can't think about it. We got to move forward, you know? It's okay. It's right. It's like if you got in your car every day and you said, oh, my God, I'm in a car. So you can't think that, right? But it's dangerous. So that's why we say take it seriously, everything we do. So that way, hey, you can't be moonlighting thinking about, you know, getting the new Xbox or PS5 or whatever it is in the middle of class. You can't be talking while the coach is talking, you know, because you're going to miss information. And then when that happens and somebody gets hurt, it's just all downhill from there. So that's why right there, be serious in everything you do. Don't even try to step in the ring if you think it's cosplay and all fun and games, because it's not. It's not cosplay. No, I wish it was. Wish there was no injuries, you know, but it does happen. So among other injuries in professional wrestling, but that was ours that happened close to home. And there was others, but that was probably the craziest thing. So
Can I add another thing real quick too?
Yes, please, my friend.
About taking wrestling seriously.
Yes.
You know, I'm not too sure what everybody's goals are in here are, but I mean, if your goal is to, you know, be signed, you know, on another level of taking it seriously, don't just take wrestling. Don't just show up and do the bare minimum. You know what I mean? Don't just come in at 6 o'clock, punch in that time card, and then at 8 o'clock you're out and you're done for the day. You know what I mean? Like I said, I mean, obviously right now none of you guys are in that Snake Pit Pro group, but I mean, you know, if you guys get added to that group, try and, you know, at least listen to one session of what Sim Bodie, Al Snow, Gangrel are saying. You know, there's so many podcasts out right now of like guys with like Arn Anderson, Stone Cold, Edge and Christian had their own podcast. You know, listen to what they say about, they may not be critiquing your match, but I mean, they may be critiquing a match on, you know, the podcast I'm listening to right now of Arn Anderson's on TLC 2010, right? He's critiquing a match, and you can go back and you can watch that match and you're like, oh, I understand what he says right here. So if I ever get into that situation in my match, I know that what Arn means when it happens. You know what I mean? So, and you hear guys talk about how it was back in the day when you wanted to learn from a guy like Ernie Ladd or Harley Race or Jerry and Jack Briscoe, right? The only way to do it was to be in the car with them, buying them beer. Now we're getting all this free access to guys of like Arn Anderson. You know, Gabe Sapolsky's giving out free seminars through Zoom. You know, that's the guy who learned from Paul Heyman. He's a consultant for WWE right now. You know, we have guys like Brody King, Jake Atlas, Tyler Bateman, who are signed to contracts, you know. And then even if they aren't signed, you go up to the vets and you ask them, hey, watch my match, please. You know, I'm so grateful for guys like Che Cabrera, Tito, Andy Brown, Ray Rosas. They critique my match and tell me what sucks, what's shitty, what's good, and what I need to keep, you know. Go up to every vet and just say, hey, if you get a chance, watch my match. Or, hey, if I send you this clip, can you please critique me? Give me any sort of advice to help me get better. You know, don't just do your match and just say, oh, yeah, bro, we did this cool spot. They got a nice little pop out of it. I mean, if your goal is just to get pops out of the crowd, then cool. But I mean, if you want everybody in the back to be like, no, you're a good fucking wrestler, I want to work you, then yeah, you take advantage of everybody that's in the back, you know? So that's, to me, that's what I mean by taking it seriously, you know, getting that, you know, once we get into the ring, right, don't just want to go up to work, you know, go to practice to work. I mean, yeah, working's great, but I mean, we also need to do blow-up drills every single day. You know, you need to have that cardio at the PC. If you're doing a tryout, right? Holy crap. If you guys watched any of their PC tryout videos that they do, like those little 3 to 5 minute videos, and honest to God, they scare the hell out of me because I know my ass is going to get blown up and I don't want to embarrass myself, you know? But I mean, you just got to take the blow-up drills seriously. It sucks. I don't like doing them, but we have to do things like that. So take it seriously in that aspect as well, please.
Right? We know what we have to do. We don't want to do it, right? We know what we have to do. We have to work out every day. Has everyone been doing the cards? Has everyone doing their circuit training, right? It's something that we could do at home. We know what we have to do. We don't want to do it. We don't, you know? So you have to. So when you think about that, the majority of people know what they have to do. They don't want to. They have the information. They don't put it to action. Be the difference. Be the difference. Put it to action, right? You know that you can't go through a 20-minute match. All the wrestling that you're going to go through, you're going to go through a year, maybe, you know, with us, you're going to go through a year of training. You're going to go through that whole year of training, and if you don't have any cardio, all of it's worth nothing. All of it's worth shit. All of it. It's not fun. There's no fun when you're coughing up your lung and you can't breathe, and Vinny is running circles around you, and he's like, come on, bro, keep going. Come on, bro, and you're just like, I just want it to end. So why are you even in this match if you just want it to end? You know, it's not fun. I've been there, and it sucks. And then you see your performance, and your performance sucked. Then you see guys on the card who just started like a year ago, and they tore the house down because they're more serious about it. You know, don't ever get complacent. Think I'm the vet. I know more than these guys. I call in the ring. I can smoke cigarettes before my match. Like, man, trust me, someone's gonna run in. I would want to run circles around you if you had that attitude. I really would.
And get comfortable being uncomfortable too, guys. You know, when before the pandemic, you know, Joey had the Los Luchas class every Tuesday night, right? Even if you're not going to be a guy who's doing springboards or flying all over the ring like a luchador, or, you know, just somebody who does these great, fantastic moves, you still want to go and learn from him because you want to be that guy to when you're wrestling somebody who does do that, you're like, yeah, bro, I got you. I can base for you. I can spot you, you know, no problem. And then when you do base for them and they're like, wow, bro, like you actually were there. You had me. You had control. It's a very good compliment. So, you know, learn all the styles that, you know, you can get. And especially at Santino Brothers, we're very very privileged that Joey has, classes with, Gentleman Jervis, Los Luchas, and then when he's bringing in Brody and Jake to run the class, so we got to take advantage of things like that, guys.
Anybody see that? There's a video that went around this weekend of a guy doing a tope through the ropes, and the guy catches him, but he doesn't catch him, and the guy goes right and hits the chair, crashes. He goes actually through the chair. Let me tell you something. There's no excuse not to catch somebody. And what I'm going to say is, maybe coach didn't teach you how to catch. Well, then don't catch anybody then. And if you are, then you better catch them. And so I'm going to tell you that he probably didn't take wrestling seriously, because that shit was disastrous. Like, really was. That catch is one of the easiest catches to do in the world. You could even catch the guy, take 2 steps back, let him land on his feet, and you just do a back roll like those all the old lucha guys do. You know what I mean? And so that's what it tells me. You're not serious about it. If I see you botch, everyone botches. That's cool. I get it. But if I see you botch time and time and time and time again, it tells me you're not serious about it. You're not trying harder. You're not even thinking to say, well, I can't do this. I shouldn't do it. You're just like, I don't give a fuck. And I could see that. And if I could see it, I know a lot of other people can see that. So take it seriously. That's the first thing I thought when the guy didn't catch him. Like, what are you doing? Like, you just did your hands like that. That pisses me off to no end, because I would catch people. I remember Teddy Hart. He never told me he was going to do a moonsault off the top of the rope to the outside. And he told my partner, who's 6'4", Aaron Aguilera. He was Jesus in WWE back in 2005. And he's my partner, but he had neck surgery. So he's like, I don't want to catch nobody. Like, I don't want anyone coming at my head. I don't want to break my fucking neck again. But Teddy Hart's like, hey, that's the big guy. So I'm going to tell the big guy, hey, catch me. And I had no clue about what he was going to do. But I read wrestling, and I see this guy going up, and I'm like, what's he doing? And I have no clue. I go to Aaron. I say, you know what's going on? Because I know Aaron. Aaron don't want to catch nobody. So I go, Aaron, you got him or what? And Aaron was like, I think Aaron was just going to be like, hey, dude, I told you I don't want to fucking hurt my fucking neck, So I don't know if he was going to catch him. So I went over, and I caught this guy. And I've seen Teddy Hart do this moonsault where he smashes his shins on the guardrails. And I thought it would be disastrous, but I guess he's done it, and it's like no big deal. But at the time, I caught him, and I was like, he was going to break his shins because they were going to smash from the guardrails. But that's how serious I was about this guy. Like I could have been like, he didn't tell me shit, so fuck him. And everybody I don't know if everybody knows, but he got a little chip on his shoulder, right? Teddy Hart does. And so I could have been like, fuck this guy. But I was like, I love wrestling for the sake of wrestling. Serious about wrestling. Let me catch this guy right here. Catch him perfectly. Is it sacrifice doing that? Yeah, because you can't get hurt. There's a guy that caught somebody and broke his fucking neck in TNA like 10 years ago. Sorensen. I think that's his name. But yeah, so yeah, definitely take it seriously. 100%. Be serious about it. Does that mean that you have no personality? No. We want you to have an incredible amount, a larger than life personality, but we want you to be serious about everything you do. And you'll see the people that are serious about everything they do. A guy like Jake Atlas is incredibly serious about professional wrestling. He was serious about, I'm going to get signed. He's serious about his goal being a WWE Hall of Famer. Is it going to happen on his first go round? I don't know. Maybe not, because in order to become that have that journey, under your belt and have that true grit about you, is that you go on that journey of professional wrestling. So, but I have no doubt that he will one day do it, because you could see how serious he is about it and about wrestling. I see that Joe has got a question here. Joe, what's your question? Did we answer it already?
I came up with a new question, Coach.
What you got?
In regards of if you're going to be trained by someone new, at what point where it's like, like they're teaching you a way that they do it, and you kind of develop your own way of doing it, and but it's like a gimmick way. Like say, in my case, I do like the little Naruto run when I'm running the ropes, because that's like part of the gimmick. It's like the ninja run. And when they say, oh, don't do that, but eventually somewhere down the line I'm going to be wrestling in front of people, and I really wanted. I genuinely believe that I think I can get that over. What point where it's like, was it going to be, oh, I'm just doing it because it's my thing and I don't want to disrespect them, but like, how do you get that across without coming off as like, oh, fuck you, I don't care what your opinion is, all that stuff?
I think you answered your question. You said when you're around my coaches, if they don't want you to run that way, I wouldn't run. That doesn't mean like, oh, well, I got to leave their camp. No, that doesn't mean that. That means that, when you have an opportunity to do it somewhere else, then try to apply it, right? We're throwing everything to the wall, and that's that respect that you're having for your instructors, right? Do you have to agree with everything your coach says? No, that's what makes you you. Like Ruby said, oh, I don't like Ric Flair's selling, and I'm like, I love it. You know what I mean? I was like, Ruby, but that's what makes you you. And that's what makes you unique. But I'm going to tell you, if you want to piss them off, keep running that way. And then you're not going to get anywhere in training. So you might as well just do what they're telling you to do, right? To get the other information that they can give you. And don't die on that hill yet, right? Not at training. That's what I would say. What would you say, Mr. Vasco?
Yeah, I mean, I would do that. Like if Joey tells, like, I'm going to use Joey as an example, right? If Joey says don't do that, I wouldn't do it. On the contrary, though, let's say you are doing a show and you do it during the show, right? Because you're not at the dojo where Joey said don't do it. If you do it there, look, I love Joey, but Joey changes his mind 24/7 on things. Joey's told me several times before, don't do that shit. Like, it's stupid. And then, like, maybe I do it a different way. Bro, like, why are you changing it up? Go back to do the other way, So he might say in his head as you're explaining it to him, no, that's dumb. Don't do it. But then he sees you do it, and he might be like, yeah, bro, keep doing it. That's you. That's over, Like, for an example, my first theme song when I made my debut, Joey had me use Sexy and I Know It. And it is the worst fucking song ever. But because Joey told me to do it, I was going to do it until I finally found Cocky by Kid Rock. And I felt much more comfortable. And I don't think Joey still likes it, but, I'm sorry. Like, I have to use that other than Sexy and I Know It. So you just got to find your things, if he says no, say no. And like I said, if you do it and he sees it, he might like it. You never know.
I was listening to that Jericho podcast. My buddy Kevin Kleinrock hit me up and he says, the Young Bucks are talking about you on the podcast. And so I listened to it and I actually got some insight from them, right? So we put them on the flyer and I just put them together as a tag team and named them the Young Bucks. And so on the podcast, Nick was saying, we told him, oh, man, thank you for that. We're on the show. We love that name, the Young Bucks. And on the podcast, he goes, when we walked away, oh, that was the stupidest fucking name that they could have ever given us. And then they actually said, I didn't remember this till they said it. They go, and then we had to come out to Twisted Sister. We're not going to take it. We're not going to take it. No. And then so even Jericho goes, why the hell did they have you come out to that? And I looked at Mongo, we're listening to the podcast, and I go, because they were going to get their ass beat that night. But it just goes to show sometimes, right, when Coach gives you a dumb name like the Young Bucks, you could still take it and take it to the next level. They love that name now, right? So even though Coach might say, don't run like that, and there might be a reason that you're not understanding right now, and that's only because you're not smartened up enough yet right now to understand it. But I believe that you can get it over. Does it look good? Does it make sense? Is it safe? And if yes, and then we can create. Otherwise, we're never going to do a superplex from the top rope in the history of wrestling. We'll never, because someone probably said, that's stupid. Why would you, be on the turnbuckles, right? Because wrestling started legitimate, like boxing and MMA, right? So you have to be able to kind of, throw it against the wall. People aren't going to like it at first, and then they'll buy into it. Probably like Orange Cassidy. I don't know if he's becoming stale now, but, right, they bought into it. People love it. I think there's crowds there. I think the crowds always loved it, put it that way. So I think that works.
To throw in if I can.
Yeah, Sage.
You also get obviously the varied, some people they're more wise on to oh, this needs to be filmed this way, so you need to do it this way. People from WWE like to see it this way. Certain coaches like to see it this way. Lucha, you get, so different people have different techniques kind of that you have to follow.
Yes, exactly.
Thank you.
Yes, exactly. So, all right. So let's look. I have another one here. Kayfabe it. Ironic, isn't it? Ironic. Kayfabe it. Keep it confidential, right? Because right and why? Because I have to say this because I think a lot of people go into wrestling today in 2020, or at least now, with the idea that wrestling is exposed, wrestling is fake, and yeah, it is. It is exposed, right? It is. But it's the same way that we know the magicians doing magic. Are they really doing it? No, no, they're not. No, no, they're not. But they're so good at it, they make you believe. And that's why I want to reiterate: keep it kayfabe, kayfabe it, kayfabe. It's going to help you with your character. It's going to help you with your storylines, which is going to lead to helping you with better matches, like that one Tyler Bateman and Ruby Ray's that I thought was done incredibly well. For a wrestling school show. And not saying just for a wrestling school show, but I thought that was something that could be on a national show. Um, but yeah, so definitely when you kayfabe it, it makes everything mean a lot more. So this is for Santino Brothers. I don't know about any other school, but this is not a clubhouse, social gathering place, right? You are here to train. Do not bring your friends or family members at training. So right, if you are not training, you need to take notes in class, right? So you can't just come to class and just talk to a couple of other alumni that are there. You have to still be part of class. That's just going back to that being serious about it, right? Coming early, staying after class, asking the coach questions, learning a lot of the stuff that we're learning here in this online session. Is what you would learn staying before and after the classes, and not only that, you get the insight of what the maybe coach is looking for to put somebody on the next show, because that's everybody's question. I'm training. Why am I training? So I can get on a show, so I can start wrestling. I don't want to just train forever. Nobody comes to wrestling school and just wants to train. You do it because you want to wrestle. So definitely keep that in mind when you're coming to wrestling class. Have a plan B, right? Have a plan B. But coach, I'm supposed to be the WrestleMania main event. I know, and you will. But have a plan B, please. Pretty please with sugar on top. Have a plan B. Go to school, continue your college, continue your education, get a degree. I'd highly recommend it. If you're trying to get to WWE, if you have any kind of degree, a bachelor's degree, they look at that. They actually look at that. Are they going to put you behind a desk and you can use that bachelor's degree? No, they're probably going to powerbomb you and hit you with the steps. But they look at it that way because they want to be like the NFL, right? Everybody coming into the NFL is college educated. That's what they want to be at WWE. So it's going to help you, So if you got two wrestlers and it's a tie and it's equal, one has a degree and the other one doesn't, I'm pretty sure they're going to go with the one that has a degree. Not to mention that sometimes you finish wrestling. No one ever thinks about that. Sometimes you finish wrestling. Maybe you do become the world champion, but maybe you didn't make all the money. Maybe you spent all your money. I don't know. But sometimes you're done with wrestling. What are you going to do with the rest of your life? Wrestling, for a lot of people, isn't forever. I'd like to think wrestling is not forever for me. Could be. Looks like it's probably going to be. But think about a plan B. I think that's something that I really thought about going into this pandemic. Right? We're in the entertainment business. We're in the entertainment industry. And as soon as they said only essential workers, every non-essential, it's like you kind of feel like, I don't know if anyone ever seen Schindler's List, but if you were an entertainer in Nazi Germany, they sent you to the ovens. And so like Schindler was a guy saying, well, this person makes pots and this person's an electrician and this person's a blacksmith. And they weren't, but he was helping them. That's how he was saving all these people. And it really made me think about like something like that. It really did, about, wow, I'm just in entertainment. Maybe I should have a plan B also, right? That's my advice to myself. So I would pass it down to you also.
And I'm a prime example of that too. Like, I mean, I remember when I first started at Santino's, Chaos, because for those that know, I'm 22, I'm very young. When I started at Santino's, I was 19 and fresh out of high school, and Chaos would ask me all the time, oh, are you in school? And I tell them, no, like, I'm going to be in the WWE. I'm going to I was that one person saying I'm going to main event WrestleMania. And I was like, wow, wrestling will never go away. It never happens. And look what happened in March, and right away I signed up right before school, and I regret that I didn't finish and get further ahead in my degree when I had the chance, a couple years back. Now I'm trying to play catch up and trying to hurry up and finish before wrestling comes back, because now I'm determined to finish. So if you guys have that opportunity right now, during this pandemic, you guys should, sign up for school one class at a time, do what you can to get as much as you can done.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%. It really, makes you think. This pandemic really does, right? So I'm doing good. I got a reputable wrestling school out here in Los Angeles, California. So Ronda Rousey trained before her WWE debut. Boss Root and UFC Hall of Famer's been there. Stefan Bonner, among many, many WWE superstars, gone, just like that. Now I'm sitting here thinking, like, wow, do I gotta drive trucks like my dad? Like, what do I gotta do? But it definitely does make you think. So I definitely would have a plan B for you. Seminars are always mandatory. I would say, right, think about, like, they'll say, hey, voluntary, nothing's voluntary. If they're bringing in a seminar, bringing in somebody, you should take it. By all means, take it. I'm guarantee you don't know what this person's gonna tell you. We've had seminars with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, the Great Sasowski, B-Boy, Tommaso Ciampa, Chris Hero, the Great Muda, Jake the Snake Roberts. I mean, just that one didn't happen, huh? No, it didn't.
No, it didn't happen. You guys had it advertised, and then I don't know what happened, but I know.
Oh, yeah. PCW must have pulled out on that one. But there's just been so many. Adam Pearce, who's always on Monday Night Raw right now. Sin Bodhi did a seminar over at our school. So, like, there's just so much information that you can get from a seminar, and especially like we were able to get Tommaso Ciampa when he was assigned to NXT. I don't know if he was signed, but he was doing NXT matches already. And I think, like, that's what everybody wants to ask. Like, well, how do I get where you're at, and you'll have that opportunity tomorrow. We're bringing in Jake. I talked to Brody this week. He said he was going to be here tomorrow also, right? So you got one person who's in WWE, and you got one person who's in Ring of Honor, going to wrestle for the Ring of Honor heavyweight title, and that's a big deal. So, and if those are places that you'd like to wrestle, how did you do it? How did you do it? And they'll tell you, right? There is no easy answer. I'll tell you that. And it'll probably sound a lot of repeating about what Coach is saying. But it's tried and true, and it does work. So think about that when they're here tomorrow. And then also when they're here tomorrow, I want you to think of questions to ask them that you want to ask these guys that have actually went to Santino Brothers Wrestling School. And have gone to the next level, have had the opportunity to break into the next level. And honestly, I would say a couple of levels, because they went to, like, the top of the indies, and then they got signed to the big companies, and I always tell them, man, when you guys were on top of the indies, you guys were wrestling every weekend. When you got signed, it was like you got shut down, just because now you're signed. You're only going to wrestle for this one company now. So, but yeah, so they went a couple of different levels. So I want you guys to have a couple of questions, write some questions down for homework tonight, for those two guys that'll be coming in tomorrow. So, all right. Now that was our code of conduct. We actually spent a lot of time on that. But there's a lot of, you'll hear some stuff that may be a little bit repetitive here. Here's my chaosisms, my pro wrestling tips. Boots. Get a pair of boots. If you want to be treated like a pro, you got to dress like a pro. And being a professional wrestler, you should have a pair of professional wrestling boots. Have you ever seen the bootleg Spider-Man in the birthday party? He's got the cool mask, he's got the bodysuit, and then he's got a pair of Nikes on, and they're like white. They're not even red or blue. And it just kills the whole character. It kills everything about it. And usually those shoes are dirty too, And it just doesn't look right. And it looks Bush League. And that's how wrestlers look. They look Bush League when they don't have a wrestling boot. They have this incredible gear that's stitched up, probably cost them like $300, that have incredible tights that are just have 3-4 different tones of colors and stitching on them. And then they even have cool kick pads, and then you just see like these ASIC shoes, and it just kind of kills it, you know. If I would say, I'm not saying don't wear kick pads, be Jericho and wear your kick pads over your boots. I think also Penta or maybe Ray Phoenix does that also. He wears his kick pads over his boots. One of them does. But that's what I would do. And then now this is just like not old time vet telling you get a pair of boots, kid. Let me tell you why. It's going to protect your ankles. It's going to protect your feet. It's going to protect your toes. It's going to protect your calves. Because you're gonna bust up your feet one day. You're gonna break your toes when you have to take the Gonzo bomb one day because you're wearing a pair of Chucks and there's no protection. Now those wrestling boots are full leather and they will protect your feet, ankles, and whenever I put on my wrestling boots, I feel like it's ass kicking time. That's how I feel. I feel like it's ass kicking time. Like there's just nothing like my pair of boots, and I've worn them both. I've worn the kick pads with tennis shoes. And I've worn the boots, and there's just nothing like a pair of boots, and I would get a pair. So, for those two reasons, right? Protection and you look professional. How about athletic tape? I wouldn't say you don't have to wear it, but keep a roll of athletic tape in your bag. You know, you strains and sprains are part of the business, so keep that roll on hand, and you don't realize how much you need it one day until you jack your wrist and you still want to strain. And it's nice to tape it up. And then also as a wrestler, you're going to have to learn the difference between being injured and being hurt. Does everybody know the difference? Injured, I can't go, coach. I'm done. I can't go. Hurt, yeah, fucking ribs hurt, but I can still go. You know, injured is I can't go, man. My leg's broken. I'm injured. You know. I don't know. So like you got the air knocked out of you, you're hurt. You're gonna just all right, give him a second. He'll be back into it. You know, Chaos fucking booted you in the mouth because he didn't aim right. Oh, you're just hurt. You know, even if Jesus Christ, like Brody King broke his jaw and finished the match, and he considered that hurt, not injured. It's just all depending on yourself how you can go. I would say you break your jaw. Let's call it a day, man. 22-year-old Chaos would say, keep going, punk. But now 42-year-old Chaos says, hey, let's call it a day. Let's get out of the ring. You know. Here's one, and I've told you this since day one. Number 3 on my pro wrestling chaosisms, pro wrestling tips. Hit the gym. Right? Hit the gym. Pretty please with sugar on top. And then once again, why? Well, because Chaos is a road warrior mark. No, that's not exactly why. Why? Because when you work out, you put your armor on, and pro wrestling is going to beat you up. The steel cable ropes are going to beat you up. The mat is going to beat you up. Getting tossed over on a battle royal to the outside is going to beat you up. You get tossed into the chairs because you're just young and you want to do it, and you've seen people do it. Oh, there's stairs. We have stairs, right? Not every show has stairs. So when you see stairs there, you're like, oh, I see everybody get thrown into the stairs. I want to get thrown into the stairs. You're going to do it, you know? So you need to put that armor on your body. You know, you can't be frail. You have to, I get it. Like, hey, this is how I look. I could do more moves like this. Hey, you got to put that armor. It's so important. It's going to, it's key, to a long career in professional wrestling. I can only remember a time, I think I told you guys this, where I got power bombed by Pogo the Clown in XPW from inside the ring to outside the ring. And there was a table there. And he power bombed me, and he didn't do it like Kevin Nash, where Kevin Nash kind of throws you out and you kind of float down. And I actually almost see it like he floats down like a feather. No, Pogo the Clown power bombed me like this, and he leaned over the top rope. When he leaned over the top rope, it moved my body. So now I crashed on the back of my head, my neck, and my shoulder blades. And when I hit that table, I just disintegrated it because I was like a cannonball. My feet were over my head. I was like a cannonball coming down. Crashed. Bounced. I accordion bumped. Landed on my stomach. And if you asked me that night, you all right, Chaos? Yeah, I'm fine. You asked my manager who I hung out with. He looked at me one day. They said, hey, how was that spot how did it go? You know, how were you okay? And I was like, yeah, I was cool. I was 100%. And Smiley looked at me. If you ever know Smiley, he gets these squinty eyes, and he just starts smiling at me like, what the fuck are you talking about? You weren't right for 3 months after that. That was like this crazy ass concussion that I had. I should have probably had a broken neck also. Why didn't I? Because Chaos was 232 pounds, and my traps were right here, coming out my neck, and were just huge. So I always credit having my armor protected me from breaking my neck on that bump. And if you ever see, I think it actually is online. It's devastating. It looks terrible. But workout. I was huge. Yeah, I did get a concussion. I couldn't stop that, but I probably saved myself from a broken neck. Do I have neck problems? Do I hear my neck crack when I do this right now? Yeah, from that bump? Yeah, I can hear that. Are you still going to do it after hearing my story? Probably. You're still going to do it. I can't stop you because no one was going to stop me. Chris Candido or Terry Funk weren't going to stop me, so I know I'm not going to stop you guys. Just be careful when you do it. I would recommend
Another
not.
reason you guys want to work out, right? Not just for the body armor, but I mean, when you guys are in there with bigger guys, and you have to. I mean, I'm not saying you're going to give a power bomb to Brody King, but I mean, let's say maybe a body slam, right? He's going to get light for you, but I mean, he still is expecting you to, meet him halfway and lift him up. Even if I'm just picking Brody up on my shoulders, Brody's still, what would you say, 280, 300 maybe?
He's over 300 now.
Oh, is he over 300 now?
He was about 260 to 280 when he was with us in training.
Yeah, so I mean, if you're trying to get a guy up like that, that's why you want to spend, time in the gym. And I mean, I'm not saying you got to be, John Cena squatting 600 pounds, but I mean, just get your reps in. It's the same thing with training. You get your reps in. And a quick note too on the not the duct tape, the athletic tape. Little tip that I picked up. If you do wear it, or regardless, if you keep it in your bag, you always want to have two rolls, right? Because once you start working, you're going to get the, hey, brother, do you have any tape, right? So you want to keep a nice amount of roll for you. And then on the side, maybe in your pocket, you want to pull out that last bit that is not going to be enough to wrap, your wrist. And you just say, yeah, man, this is all I got. Sorry, hope it helps, and that's on their due diligence to go to Big Five and pick up a roll, and you're helping them out, So if they got to go and, swap meet everybody in the locker room, at least you helped them out a little bit.
I think I've gotten by like a couple of years doing that. Hey, bro, you got to roll. Yeah, you use it all, right? But yeah, that's great, right? So you have your 10% roll next to your hammer and sponge, right? In your bag. But yeah, and yeah, right. So you want to be strong to base. If you ever, right, if you want to be, right, you got Rey Mysterio, who's a high flyer, and you got Psychosis. And if you ever watched those two, Psychosis is a baser. How can Rey Mysterio do all those cool moves? It's because Psychosis, right, he's actually strong in basing. So if you're not going to want to hit the gym, then I'm going to suggest that you better hit the farm weights or something, because you still have to be strong in order to base these cool moves. You ever see the Deja Vu, where they do the head scissors, come here, go around, do the head scissors, come here, go around, do the head scissors, and then they spin, and get tossed out? Yeah, that's basing right there. And that's the guy taking the move. It's actually harder to take the move than it actually is to do it. So that's another reason. And I'm going to tell you this. Whenever you show me your gear, whenever any of you say, hey, Coach, here's my gear. Here's what I want to get. You're going to draw out this comic book character that's just ripped, jacked. And that's why I always say, well, if your comic character showing me your gear is ripped and jacked, what makes you think you putting on that gear is going to make you look the same way? So work at it, because I know nobody wants to be out of shape. They don't want to look out of shape, because no one's ever sent me a realistic pit drawing of how they look with their gear. They always draw the superhero. So work out, as I know you want to look good. And that's another one, right? So because you look great. And then if you ever get a chance to go to WWE, every single person is in incredible shape. Whoever you think, like if you think Bray Wyatt's fat, no, he's got ripped arms. You might think Kevin Owens is fat. Not really. You're just like, geez, I thought these people were way more out of shape than I thought. You get there and it just lights a fire and says, I don't understand why I showed up out of shape. Like, of course, everybody would be in great shape here, you know, and it just makes you feel incredibly small. El Primo. Yeah, you don't have that many abs, bro. You don't have that many abs. No. See, look, he gave himself abs. All right, next one, number 4. Ability to take criticism, right? Learn to differentiate between constructive criticism and blatant negativity, right? And so let me tell you this, and I think I've told you this earlier, was, right, I've never gotten bad advice from an old timer or a veteran, right? I may have thought that what they told me at the time is pure bullshit, but that's only because I was young and dumb in the business and I wasn't smartened up enough to know any better, i.e. Chris Candido and Terry Funk telling me, don't be a jackass and wear your belt in the hotel lobby. But I did, because I didn't know any better, you know. And then what I'm going to suggest to you, you get some criticism from a veteran, and usually, listen, I'm not gonna, I won't go and say, hey, Hyde, your match sucked, and just leave it at that. There's gonna be those people, but like, I'm actually just gonna say, good match, kid. You're gonna get more of that than anything, and know that someone didn't watch your shit. Good match, kid. It was good. How was my match? It was good. That means they didn't watch it, right? But if someone's actually breaking down your match and saying you should have did this instead of doing that, once you get mad and you go home and you type something up on social media, don't send it. Go back and think about what they said and then fix it. It's because a lot of times you just don't understand, and plus you think they're singling you out and picking on you, and they're not. They're trying to help you and make you better, right? So I've always learned that even though I think this old timer or veteran is shitting on me right now, I've learned, whether it be 3, 5, 10, 15, 20 years later, what that veteran meant. And finally that light bulb went off 20 years later and go, oh my God, now I get it. So now that's what I do. I take that information and I put it in my back pocket. And I put it in my back pocket so that way I could just know if, just wait until I'm smartened up enough to know if it's actually good information or not. Because by that time, I'll be smartened up enough in the wrestling business. So I'd always take that information, just put it in the back of your pocket. And I think 9 out of 10 veterans aren't trying to shit on you. They're trying to actually help you. You just don't like what they're saying because they're saying you didn't do so well, you know? But just think about it.
Also, you don't want them to be saying, "Oh, good match." You want to hear what you need to fix, because no one match is going to be perfect. You know, there's stuff you're not going to see that they will see, and you want that. You know.
Absolutely. Absolutely, right? Yeah, that's exactly right. Good match means they didn't pay attention to your shit at all. It really does.
I'd like to add in too real quick.
Yeah.
You'll have, you know, maybe if I go to Chaos, right, and I'll say, hey, like, did you see anything that could have been fixed? You know, he might not see anything, but for example, Jeremy Marcus, who was my referee, he might say, hey, next time, why don't you do this instead of that in terms of like a pinfall or a submission or a way that I cheated, right? And you'll have a lot of guys who find that disrespectful that the referee is coming and telling them like, hey, do this. And I can understand why, because, you know, and our pro wrestling minds, you know, we're like, oh, this guy just counts to 3, you know, he does that. I'm over here putting the bumps, getting hit, blah, blah, blah. When he's not trying to be disrespectful, he's trying to help you. So, you know, even though you may, you know, there's guys that are going to see it as a referee, always take it, you know, like Joey's saying, put it in your back pocket. You may not like it at the moment, but put it in your back pocket, because then when you're calling a match again, you're like, fuck, the referee was fucking right. I should have let, you know, maybe I see what he's saying now. So, you know, there's going to be guys who aren't necessarily wrestlers who will try and improve your match, you know, by telling you what, you know, you should have or shouldn't have done. So just wanted to throw it out there too.
Thank you, Vinny. Yes, absolutely. All right, let's go to the next one. Passion. Become a student of the game. Don't stop learning. Don't become complacent. Right? I shouldn't have to tell you to watch wrestling or study it. What I like to say is either learn to love it or fuck off, right? Because I can teach someone to wrestle, but I cannot teach them passion. That's in you. That's about you. Become a student of the game. Fall into the mix of it, right? And you're going to hear that probably tomorrow from Brody King. Is like, you have to dedicate your life to pro wrestling in order to get to the levels that you want to get to conquer the goals that you guys have, you know? So you have to become passionate about this. You see wrestling, you should be like, man, I love this. I want to watch it. You should, if you see wrestling, you go, oh God, Impact, I don't want to watch that. You should be excited to watch all this shit. You really should, you know? If you don't, like, you know, maybe you're like Coach, I like to wrestle more than I actually like to watch it. I'm a different type, right? I tagged along with my uncle, so that's why I think it's like that. I like to actually wrestle more than I actually like to watch it, but I love to learn about it. I love to learn everything about it. Then what do you have to do to do that? You got to go back and watch it. Now, so I find myself watching so much stuff that I never used to watch because I want to learn different things. I want to see how watching WCW Saturday Night, how seeing Stunning Steve Austin, you could tell him and Brian Pillman tag team, and you could tell they are calling it in the ring on the fly as they go. And because you hear Stone Cold talking about that in his podcast, and I went, and he didn't talk about specifically, he just talked about throughout his career. And I went and found those instances and learned, like, wow, they're actually doing it right in the ring. And that's why I can learn about it. So become passionate about this, about professional wrestling. Here's one. Shake everyone's hand upon entering a locker room. Right, acknowledging them. Right, I get it. Maybe you're COVID, but if you're going to be wrestling somebody at that point, you know you don't have to shake everyone's hand, but maybe it's at least acknowledge them. I get it. But if there's no COVID, shake their fucking hand. Right? You don't do it because the veteran told you to shake fucking hands. You don't do it because it's tradition in professional wrestling. You do it because you're a decent human being, and you want to earn respect and gain respect and have respect and give respect. So that's why you want to shake everybody's hand. I get it. Everybody might talk like shaking hands, this, that, and the other. I see people that don't do it. It just seems very disrespectful. It totally does to me. And there's a lot of people that are old timers in the business. And if you want to wrestle in the WWE, I keep bringing WWE because that's like the pinnacle in professional wrestling. That's the top dog. There's a lot of old timers there. There's a lot of old timers there. When I was there, I remember Vince McMahon walking down the hallway and everybody started standing up like it was the president walking through, like almost saluting him. And I had wrestled on Monday Night Raw, and he was saying hi to most people. Some people he wouldn't. And I remember he walked up to me and he said, "Hey, good job last night." And he shook my hand. And I said right there, like, this guy, like, I'm nobody in his company. You know, I was a jobber last night on Monday Night Raw, and he stopped to shake my hand. I said, that's why he is who he is. That's why Vince McMahon is a billionaire. That's why he has been on the top of his game forever, because he has the ability to make everybody feel like $1,000,000, even the jobber from Monday Night Raw the night before. You know, and then so I think about that, and I go, well, if Vince McMahon stopped to shake my fucking hand, if Vinny doesn't shake my hand, man, fuck that guy, 100%. Who the fuck is he in this business? Yeah, maybe it sounds a little bit too passionate. Maybe it's a hill you don't want to die on, but I've always looked at it that way when Vince stopped and shake my hand, like, well, who am I not to shake anybody's hand? And who is anybody not to shake my hand? That's how I looked at it, you know? And so if you want to get to that pinnacle, they're not gonna tell you anything. They're not gonna say you didn't shake no one's hand. I'm writing you up. No, they're just gonna take a mental note of it. You might not get the push. No one will ever tell you. You'll never know why.
And not just the boys in the back too, you know, do it for the photographers, for the ring crew, you know. I mean, Hyde and I have done it before. We're there all day doing ring crew, and I mean, just the simple fact that somebody acknowledged that we set up the ring, you know, and they're thankful for it, goes a long way. So, you know, pay that back whenever you're finally on a show and, you know, somebody else set up the ring that you're not there at 9 o'clock in the morning, hoping, praying that you're going to get a spot on the card, and that doesn't come. So you're just sitting there all day, starving, exhausted, and then you got to tear down the ring while everybody else gets to go home. So, you know, acknowledge the ring crew, the photographers and videographers. You know, they're going to do their best to make you look good. And if you want photographers, you know, if you want them to send their photos ASAP, if you're being super appreciative of them, you know, they're going to be the first. They're going to send you the links first. You know, hey, here's the photos from last night. You know, and everybody's messaging, oh, bro, where'd you get the photos at? It's like, oh, the photographer sent them to me. You know, like, sorry, you know, they hit me up. You know, so not just the boys in the back, because especially too, like Chaos said, you know, like, who are you in the business, right? I've been on shows where guys who are names and they don't shake anybody's hands. They walk in and they put their bags down and they just go find their opponent, or they're slouched out in the corner like this on their phone doing this. And it's kind of like, you know, I'm not asking to be their best friend. At least just show me the simple common courtesy of, you know, shaking me and shake my hand and look me in the eye when I say hello, you know, because at that point, anything they've done to me, I don't give a crap. I'm going to straight up tell everybody, yeah, they're a piece of shit in my book, you know. Probably not the best move, but I mean, that's just how I see it.
Right? Because we're decent human beings. That's why, Vinny. You know what I mean? And so it goes both ways. You know, it goes both ways. I always like to show up early, because then everyone tends to come to you to shake your hand. When you show up late, you got to go around and shake everybody's hand. That's my tip. Show up early and they'll come to you. Majority of the time they'll come to you and shake your hand.
Well, that's how you find out who really is, thinks they're larger than life in pro wrestling. Because if you're already there and they have to come to you and they just completely bypass you, it's like, all right, this guy thinks he's the shit.
And it's a great way to break the ice, right? So if you got a guy like Vince McMahon that will shake hands, like why can't it goes both ways? You can walk up to him and say, "Hi, I'm Joey Chaos. I'm a professional wrestler from Los Angeles, California. Just want to say it's nice to meet you." Maybe a lot of people are too nervous to do that, but it's very acceptable in professional wrestling. It's acceptable to just walk up to somebody you don't know and just introduce yourself. You don't have to go and say, "Hey, do you know him? Introduce us." No, you just walk up and say, "This is me." And I think that's one of the best parts about pro wrestling, because a lot of people times we wrestle and we get on cards that we watch people on TV, and now we're on cards with them and we get a little nervous. But the best part is just to go up, because now you're a colleague with them. And I think that leads to my next one, which is do not mark out for superstars in the locker room. Don't go and ask them for pictures or autographs, right? Act like you're supposed to be there, right? I think there's a time and place, obviously. Do I wish I took pictures with everybody that I've been in the back with? Yeah, I do. I wish I did. I wish I was like my buddy Bill Anderson. He's got pictures with everybody. But at the same time, when somebody is in the locker room with me and they start asking me about XPW and like, "Hey, how was it when you took that move, or when this," and they start talking about angles, and you're supposed to be a wrestler. I get it. I know you're a fan, but I start saying, "Man, this is Mark City right here." And then I'll say, "Cool, honestly, cool. That's really cool." And then I'll just try to walk away and get away from you and move my shit too. And you don't want that. And that's me. So can you imagine if it's somebody else in the locker room that's been wrestling on a national level for years, how they would feel? Like you want to be their colleague. You don't want to come off as a mark to them. Because I'll tell you this. As soon as you come off as a mark to them, they'll treat you like a mark. Hey, go get us some beer. Hey, give me a ride here. Hey, hey, I left my wallet in my bag. Can you buy my dinner? And you're more than willing to do all this shit. But they're just taking advantage of you if you're going to start marking out like that. So that's why another reason I wouldn't is because, which leads me to my next one. Don't trust anybody. Question everything. Don't even trust what I'm telling you right now. Do your own fucking research. And the reason I say this is because there's been a lot of wrestlers, as I come up, would just blatantly lie, would try to get one over on you. And so I've always learned that they'll try to tell you anything good to get you to, hey, come to Vegas and take these two guys because I'm giving you a good spot on the show and you're going to wrestle Al Snow. Later find out Al Snow was never even booked on that show. But they just used you. We did that even in Mexico. Me and Supreme went down to Mexico, and we weren't even booked. But we trusted the guy. They say, you're booked. We found out we just gave him a ride for his booking. And so Supreme fought to get us on the show, and we got a spot on the show. But it was just like, that's why I always say that. Don't trust anyone, because they always try. Oh, then they say, "Oh, I'm sorry. I told the guy he's trying to fuck us over." Bullshit. Or the worst part is, hey man, at intermission, somebody stole. My partner turned his back on me, stabbed me in the back, and stole the cash box. Sorry, kid, I can't pay you. And I believed him. I totally believed until it happened a second time at a different company. I was like, what the fuck is going on? This is a gimmick. This is a pro wrestling fucking some carny ass bullshit. And I believe that first guy. Now I'll always remember Charles Gibbs. They fucking worked me. Charles Gibbs, and there was another guy. I forget what his name was. But yeah, they worked us. So I always say, don't trust anyone. Question everything. Don't even trust what I'm telling you right now. Do your research, please. Another one. Wash your gear. I get it. Wash your gear, coach. Fuck, of course I'm going to wash my fucking gear. Yes, you will wash your gear. But let me tell you what you're going to do before you wash your gear. You're going to get out of training. You're going to put your gear in your bag, and you're going to zip up your bag, and you're going to put your gear in the car. And when you get home, man, we drilled you to death. 300 squats, an hour straight of cardio, and you're going to be so tired that luckily, you never leave your gear in your car, first of all. So you take your gear out, but then you're just going to leave it there on the floor next to your bed. And what's going to happen? That shit's all sweaty and wet inside your fucking bag. And then you're going to take it out the next day and wash it. And it might work that time. But when you do that same routine over and over again, what's going to happen is it's going to come to the point where you try to wash it. And it's usually early on, a month or two in. You try to wash your brand new Trace knee pads, and it has this funk in it still. Like, why the fuck is this funk still there? I just washed them. I can smell my downy clean, and I can smell funk from wrestling school. Why is that? Because you left it in your bag, and it fermented in your bag, and you had a closed bag. And usually you leave it in your car. What happens in your car in Los Angeles? It gets hot. And so now it's just really brewing inside there, and that you ruin your gear. So what do? You take your gear home, take your bag out of your car, never leave it in your car, and you just take it out, and maybe you don't have time to wash it. You just air it out. You just lay it out on a chair or something, and you let it air out. And that's what's going to save your gear from having this incredible funk. Someone's going to pin you and go, what the fuck? You don't wash your shit? And you're like, yeah, I just washed it. And it happens in training. And the person that everyone smells is like this big now because they're like, I did wash it. And I believe you did wash it, but you left it in your bag and you ruined it. So don't ruin your gear. Wash your gear. Air it out. So important. So important to air it out. You'll thank me later. Here's probably one of the first things that I learned in pro wrestling. Keep your mouth shut and your ears open, right? Going back to become a student of the game. Mongo would always like to say, you can't listen if you're talking, right? And so just be that fly on the wall and learn, especially when we're new, right? It comes to the point where I was the fly on the wall, keeping my mouth shut and my ears open all day. That's the only way that I'm able to now be the mentor, be the coach, be the teacher. Because I kept my mouth shut and just learned from a lot of different people, So when you're talking and you're telling your stories and you want to one-up the veteran or one-up the other wrestler, like you're missing out on drive time. No one wants to hear your rookie stories. Really, you don't even want to hear your rookie stories. Let the veterans talk. Who's the veteran? I don't know. Maybe it's Al Snow, but maybe it's a dude who just fucking has 4 matches more than you. You know what? They got 4 matches under their belt more than you. So they probably can give you some tips that you don't know. That's your veteran. You know what I mean? So definitely, right? Keep your mouth shut and your ears open. How about this one? And we've talked about it a number of times in this class. You got to be tough. You got to get tough, or you got to start growing tough. Why? Because pro wrestling's tough. It is, right? The ring is tough. The steel cable ropes are tough. Your opponent's a badass. Maybe he's known to be snug or stiff. What are you gonna cry? It's pro wrestling. What are you gonna cry? You hit me too hard. They hit me too hard. Fucking bust them back. Don't take that shit. I'm not saying get beat down by anybody, but you gotta be tough. Gotta be tough enough to be like, hey, dude, this is the badass in wrestling. Well, he's taking liberties out of me. I'm gonna chop the shit out of him. And if he keeps doing it, I'm gonna chop the shit out of his face. I'm gonna chop him right in the fucking face. Calm down, right? And that's you know what? You know what I'm gonna do? You know what Chaos is gonna do if I'm trying to chop the shit out of you and take liberties out on you? And Rhea just chops me in the face because she ain't gonna take that shit. I'm gonna go, all right, cool. Let's go over to Vinny. Vinny don't fight back. Let's beat him up, Rhea. I'll say, come on my team. Yeah, hey, she's vicious over here. I don't want to get beat up. Yeah, right? The bully's only as good as that first punch to the face, and they're like, hey, I don't want no more. I'm good at just bullying people. I don't want to have to fight them. I just intimidate them. You'll see that a lot in wrestling. Right, and you're going to get kicked in the teeth. You're going to get jaw jacked. You're going to hurt yourself. You're going to break your bones. It's going to happen in pro wrestling. Is it supposed to? No. Will it? Yes. How do we deal with this? We're fucking tough. Everything we do in this ring, we're fucking pro wrestlers are tough. So when the band asked me, I was on tour with this band, they said, how do you do that? Oh, God, I'm like 20 years in this business. I'm so tired of explaining kayfabe in this. And I'd say, it's all fucking fake. It's all fucking fake. And they would look at me like, fuck you, fake. I saw you get power drive off the top rope and land on your head. And what do you mean it's fake? It's fake. Everybody knows pro wrestling's fake. That's what I would say. Because they know people will understand about how crazy stupid and how tough you got to be in order to be a professional wrestler. So what are you doing tonight? I'm hurt, Doc. Took a superplex off the top rope. Well, don't do that anymore. Yeah, but I got to keep doing it. Well, why you gotta keep doing it? Because I love this shit. Well, you're probably a little crazy stupid. You better be tough too, you know, in pro wrestling. So definitely got to be tough on that. Get entrance gear. When you see a badass luchador that you're wrestling on a show with, like Blue Demon, Santos, or whoever, you'll notice they'll have 2 gear bags. One's for their gear, and the other one's for their entrance gear, their crazy ass cape, and it stands you out from the rest. I'm talking to you, Vinny. Oh, you did. You ditched the shirt. Yeah, that's true. I know you did. You finally ditched the shirt. But yeah, get some entrance gear to stand out from the rest. Because there you go, Vinny. Because when all you got is a T-shirt and you stand there and you go and you look next to the guy and he's got the Macho Man Randy Savage cape on with rhinestones and different colors and he holds it out and it's like wings. You're like, fuck, I look Bush League. And you feel like shit, especially these luchadors that just have some badass gear. And it makes you feel like I need to get to that level. You know, because every great wrestler that I've seen, they have this great entrance gear. I get it. There's examples of not, you know. But I always love those wrestlers that had that great, gorgeous George robe, Ric Flair robe, you know, Macho Man, just that great presence. I love the luchadors that do it. Just they have that incredible presence. So definitely get entrance gear. Work on your entrance gear. It's just as important as your regular gear, even though I get it. No one wants to spend that much money on entrance gear that you go out there for less than 30 seconds and take it off, but it goes a long way. How about this one? Stick to your music, right? Sometimes the promoter's going to pick your music, but if you have the opportunity to pick your music, pick something with a great intro, a great beat, something that matches your persona, and make sure it's something that you like, right? But whatever it is, don't go on an emotional weekend one weekend and go to the promoter and say, well, you got to listen to this song because the words in this song really match my life right now to a T. So can you change my entrance music, please? First of all, no one fucking cares. No one cares about this song matches. Listen to the words. No one's listening to the fucking words in a wrestling show, right? And I get it. We're like, but you got to listen to the words. No one cares as much as you do. Right? And a lot of people want to change their music very often because, right, they hear something on the radio. Oh, this is even cooler than what I had. Let me change it. But you know what you ruin when you do that? If Stone Cold Steve Austin changed his music and there was no shattering glass break, how would we get the shattering glass breaking pop if he just changed his music to something different every time? So they got used to knowing when that glass broke, we know who's coming out. We're going to pop. Same thing for you. When they hear your music, it's going to bring them back to it. That's Ruby Reyes. That's Vinny Wasco. That's Sage Sin. You know, it's going to teach them who you are. It's like as if you went out and you changed your gear completely different. Your character wears tights all the time, and all of a sudden you went out in trunks. Did you change your character? No, I just coming out in trunks. Throws people off. It's like watching Superman or Batman or Spider-Man just say, well, today I'm just wearing something different. You know, maybe it has happened, but for us newbies, it's going to help you a lot better by just keeping your music the same until you change your persona or maybe go from heel to face.
I would suggest too having the song that you want, but also a non-copyrighted song on as a backup, because a lot of places now are wanting to put their whole show on YouTube. I know we had an issue early last year where Eli couldn't put our whole entrances on because, you know, we all used our own, you know, theme song that we wanted. So we had to choose a theme song that's non-copyright. And for Up All Night, we use, you know, non-copyright music as our entrance songs. So basically what I did is I have a flash drive in my suitcase when I travel, and it's got my my regular theme song, my tag team theme song in case, you know, me and Alonzo have to team up and they don't have it, and my non-copyrighted songs. So for example, FSW in Vegas, they just started doing TV. Their first day of tapings, they said, hey, come choose, you know, this you know, non-copyrighted song you want. And all the songs they had were generic, and I, you know, just generic BS. And I said, well, hey, I use non-copyright for Up All Night. Can I use that song? I have it with me, and it was no problem. So, you know, because we got to choose it, so I like it. So, I mean, you know, it's there as a backup if I need it. So always kind of keep that in mind too.
I want to say Bray Wyatt's music was Free Domain. The one that he came out with when he started his character. I think probably the Fiend, they changed it. But yeah, he had Free Domain music that was really popular. And everyone had their lights and did the thing. So there's a lot of good music, but yeah, Free Domain music is good. If you know somebody, your friend does music and you like their music, hey, that'd probably be a good idea too, to get someone to make it. How about next one? Social media. Nice and simple. Pro wrestling tip. Nice and simple. Don't say stupid shit on social media. Rather create and distribute meaningful content every single day. It's an easy way to get in trouble, to get heat on you. As a young wrestler, you feel you got heat on you, and Al Snow messaged you because you posted some stupid shit, and now you feel really small and you're scared and you think you're going to get blackballed from the business. Are you going to get blackballed? No, you won't get blackballed, but you feel like you will, and you're going to go through some rough times. So just avoid it, you know. Just avoid saying stupid stuff on social media. What's stupid? You know what's stupid, you know. How about this one? Love this business. It doesn't owe you a damn thing, and you're even lucky enough to be a part of it. Just love this business and do great work without a pat in the back, and your accolades will come. Right? So sometimes you got to do this for you, right? There's always this talk about who's right, who's wrong, right? You just got to do it for yourself. Do it because it makes you happy. Do it because you love it. Do it because you have a passion for it, right? If you're doing it for the fame, you're going to lose. If you're doing it for the money, you're going to lose. You're going to lose every single time to somebody who fucking loves this shit with an absolute passion. You know, so you have to. You have to love it with a passion. Trust me, you love it with a passion, and you will reap the rewards from it, you know. You definitely will. It's going to be a long, bumpy road. Some people's roads might be quicker, but you know, what's the road? Jake getting signed to WWE, he's still on the journey. You know, it's a bumpy road as he's signed. But you think as indie wrestler, once I get signed, I'm there. Still a bumpy road, man. It's a long road. Have a passion for this game. You hear about wrestlers how they lose their love for the business, working for a company, right? Just keep that passion. Keep that passion strong. Here's one that I always tell the wrestlers. If you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. Remember, right? Going back to have fun and be passionate about this, right? Stop. Coach said the match breakdown, the match psychology, I'm getting it confused. I can't hit this move. Like, stop. Slow down. Remember why you got into this. Remember why you want to do this. Because it looked fun. You're right? It looked incredibly fun to do. And you want to be part of that fun. So always remember, if you're not having fun, you're not doing it right. And that's going to help you a lot of the times because you're going to go, I hate this shit. You're going to have this bitterness towards this business. It's going to happen. Am I trying to tell you because I want you to get bitter? No, I don't want you to get bitter. I'm telling you because I want you to warn you, because you're going to be like, man, I was on top for 6 months and I was getting all these bookings and now nobody wants to book me. Fucking sucks. What happened? Why am I not getting booked? And you get that little bit of bitterness. Just remember to be passionate about it and have fun in what you're doing. Okay? How about this one? This one is a really good one. I think be aware of fake environments. Okay? What does that mean? What does that mean? Be aware of fake environments. Maybe you just stick to your wrestling school and you just want to get booked on your wrestling school shows, and they book you and they give you a pretty good spot, but you're not booked anywhere else. Maybe you're happy doing that. That's cool. But don't do that and think that I only wrestle for this one company and they put me in the main event, so I am big time. I'm a big time indie wrestler. Because it's a fake environment. Maybe it's your friend booking you, you know. You want to have the ability to get booked everywhere, right? So at Santino Brothers, right, we don't give you that fish. We teach you to fish. We teach you to hunt, right? So you can eat every day, not just when coach feeds you something. Learn to get out there, right? Brody King and Jake and even Vinny and Heather Monroe, and they'll all tell you how many bookings did Chaos get you. I got Heather a good booking, but how many bookings like on the wrestling business, not on tour for a rock band, right? And they're gonna tell you zero. I'm not reaching out, because if coach reaches out for you, then what are you gonna do when coach isn't there for you anymore to reach out for you to help you get booked? You gotta learn to do it yourself. You have to. It's not because I don't want to. I don't want to help. It's like I told Kristen, okay, write me something and I'll submit it to the right people. You know? So then she learns that, hey, this is how you do it. Maybe I'll just write something. Or coach ain't there to help me submit it. I got to find the email. I got to submit it. I got to break the ice, right? So that's why I think it's so important to be aware of fake environments. Watch every match to the end. We talked about Kurt Angle, right? Watch every single match because you're a student of the game. How about heat? I've talked a great amount about heat in professional wrestling. About having it be estranged from my uncle. But right, there's gonna be many times that Vinny or maybe coach is gonna say, right, what did Vinny say? There was that one asshole that didn't shake my fucking hand. Fuck him. Right, Vinny just said that. So now each and every one of us might go, oh, who is that, Vinny? Oh, fuck that guy, right? Don't do that. Don't take on Vinny's heat, right? Maybe that was just his experience that he had with the guy. So learn, right? How many people hate Vince McMahon and think he's a piece of shit compared to how many people probably like John Cena love Vince McMahon and changed his fucking life? It's all perception. So don't take on somebody else's heat. You're going to have enough time to gain your own heat in professional wrestling. So don't take on your best friend's heat. I'm not saying don't have your friends back, but assess the situation. I always say, my friend would always say, okay, so Vinny, you hate this guy. What did he do? He's talking shit. Well, what did he say? He said, then he get higher on my drop kicks. How the fuck is that talking shit? And you start thinking about it. You're like, well, why do I hate this guy? You really don't. You're just mad. He fucking called you out on some shit. But there's a lot of heat that goes around like that. So don't take on anyone else's heat. Let's see here. Pro wrestling, right? It takes real sacrifice in professional wrestling. I told you about the time I wrestled at the gathering of the Juggalos, and I had a job at Public Storage, renting out storage units at the call center, and they would give me like a $900 bonus if you met your quotas. And I think this was like in 2001, and I was getting paid about $15 an hour in 2001, and I had a great job. And the opportunity came up to go to the Juggalos that weekend. I had to work that weekend, but I told my boss I'm going. And he said, if you go, can't come back to work. That's it. You're done. I said, but I'm never going to get this opportunity again. I can get a job at a call center somewhere else. This is going to be come and go. I didn't want to lose this cool job, but I was like, I'm willing to take that sacrifice. If you're saying that I'm going to be fired if I go, then I'm sorry. I'm going to have to go because this is my dream. This is my passion. Do I recommend you quit your job to do that? No, I don't. I was lucky enough to come back and I was going to clean out my box or my cubicle. Boss said, just sit the fuck down and get to work and don't ever do that to me again. But he came back and told me a week later, and he said, the reason I didn't fire you because I appreciate you trying to live your passion and you're living your dream. I appreciate you going after it and sacrificing for it. Do I recommend you quit your job? No, I don't. Not for wrestling. But that's the mentality I had. That's the mentality I think you're going to need in order to get to that next level, that high level that you want to get to. Real sacrifice in professional wrestling. Real sacrifice, right? I miss my and I hate it. And I miss my grandmother's 50th wedding anniversary. And there's pictures of when she died. There was pictures of that 50th wedding anniversary with everybody in the family. Guess who wasn't there? Chaos. Where was he? I can't even remember, but I know I was wrestling. But at the time, it was so fucking important. Sacrifice. Do I think the sacrifices that I did, do I think they were good sacrifices? No, but I felt I had to do them at the time. I like to tell people now, like, hey, take your time with your family. You are going to sacrifice, and you're still going to sacrifice. You're not going to spend time with your family because you're going to be on weekends and road trips and wrestling, and it fills up all your time. And now your friends that were your friends before wrestling, you don't even talk to them anymore because you're just so involved in this wrestling world. Sacrifice. You don't hang out with your friend no more. That's sacrifice, and then they're going to think, oh, you're an asshole. You just did your wrestling and just having your new friends now. Happens, it's sacrifice though. That's why you cling on to your colleagues that are here, that your fellow alumni and students. Wasco talked about doing the drives. Do the drives. Go on the drives. Even if you're not booked, can I go on the drive with you? You have room in the car with me for me to go help out, put up the ring. I'll help whatever you guys. I'll sell your merch. Learn to sell merch, right? And tell the guys, hey man, hey, Hyde and Wasco, man, I'll sell your merch, but check this out. You want $20 for it? How about this? You give me $5, or you give me $2 for each shirt I sell, and I'll push your shit to no other's end, right? Maybe Joe is like, he don't want to give me $2, so I'm gonna put his shirts at the bottom, right? You start learning how did I learn that? You learn how to sell some merch. You know what I mean? You learn the little tricks. Oh yeah, this guy's the best wrestler right here. Why are you pitching that one? I'm getting $5 a shirt. That's why. But yeah, do the drives. Learn to do something. Be a good hand. We'll end it on this because I know we're just hit overtime. And then I'll put all the notes in there, and you'll see some new ones also. Be coachable. Have the ability to take instruction and apply it is not as common as you think. Be coachable. Be coachable. Coach tells you once, do it. They don't want to have to repeat themselves, especially when you didn't jump in the ring first, and you were last of the line or middle of the line, and we had already told everybody the same mistake that you just came in and made. The same mistake everybody made. You're not very coachable if you do that. Be coachable. Keep your ears open, right? Maybe coach is telling Hannah something. Well, maybe kind of eavesdrop a little bit. What's he telling her? Oh, you know what? You got to get up and you got to put your right elbow down. Okay, I got to make sure. Am I doing that? Because I don't want him to tell me. I don't want coach to tell me that either. So that's why you got to keep those ears open. Be coachable, right? It's really, and I think this last sentence that Wasco had mentioned, he says, always do more of what's asked of you. That's gonna really develop your leadership qualities. It's really gonna develop your leadership qualities. No one just says in the back, you're gonna be the the locker room leader. You have to have those qualities inside, right? And that's being coachable is really what helps you get that quality and have that ability to become a leader. It's being coachable. So just listen, do it once, break it down, ask questions. Don't go in and saying, well, I think I know, but I might make a mistake. Just ask questions. It's okay. It's okay. It's okay to, that's what I always tell my students. It's okay to make mistakes. You don't have to get it perfect. You shouldn't get it perfect. You're learning. So ask questions. It's okay not to know. And if I don't know, and I'm even coach, I'm supposed to be the man. I'll tell you, I don't know that answer, but I will find out for you. I won't teach a German suplex. I'll take my student that knows how to do it the best, and they teach the German suplex. I don't do it the best. I don't have all the answers, right? So, and then I'll leave you on this, right? It comes to a point, right? If you're going to become coachable and become a leader, it comes a point in your life that you stop asking the questions and start answering the questions. Okay, so I want to leave you on that, right? You're always going to ask questions, but you're going to start answering questions soon. If you become knowledgeable in this game, and learn that, hey, I'm going to come there and I want to help and I want to give back in professional wrestling. So I think that'll help you out. I didn't get a chance to go over the William Regal tips, but I'll also post all those tips for everybody here. Just before we end it, does anybody have any questions on some of these pro wrestling tips? And I know, like I said, we've probably gone over them in this class. But right, sometimes pretty common sense, sometimes it's not. Yes, Mr. Phillip.
About going to the gym, I had was wondering, do you need to be, I'm 6 foot, do you need to be a certain size to do certain moves like the Gonzo Bomb or Tombstone, or just to have the strength to perform the moves?
Yeah, I would say you want to have the strength to perform the moves, especially if you're going to want to power bomb or Gonzo bomb somebody. Obviously, I'd want you to be bigger than the person that you're Gonzo bombing.
Are there going to be any moves that, like, no matter how strong I am at 6 foot, I can't do those because I'm not tall
absolutely, right? So like when they were in the ring with the Big Show, they couldn't do their normal finisher, or sometimes Razor Ramon would do his Razor's Edge, but he wouldn't be able to do the lift. He would just grab the guy that would just try to be doing a moonsault and grab him. So they would either modify it or then basically say, well, no, I cannot do that move to this person. It's too big. It's not going to look right, and then it's also probably going to be dangerous. But even if you're strong enough and you're smaller, I wouldn't have you power up people. It's the same thing I would tell Brody King. It's awesome that you know how to do all the lucha stuff, but don't do it. You're so big. If I was your size, I would just give a big boot and a lariat and stand in the middle of the ring. And he goes, yeah, but I want to show everybody that a big man can move. And I said, okay, well, just do a little bit of stuff, but don't make it your whole gimmick or your whole character. And I think the same thing for you. Understand that you may be able to do some moves, but you don't want to utilize them just because you can do them. You want to be smarter about it. Like, I can base Brody on a Gonzo bomb. Why? Because he asked me to. And I could do it. Would I do it in a match? No, I wouldn't even think about doing it in a match. Even though I can do it, I wouldn't. Just, to me, it wouldn't look right. And it just takes me out of that believability game.
Thanks, Coach.
Welcome. Anybody else have any questions before we end it? Mr. Joe.
Coach, so how you get rid of like that little belly pouch? Like, you got any advice?
Well, obviously cardio, right? You cannot, and then I could tell you cardio all day, but you cannot outwork a shitty fucking diet. So what is it that you're doing? You drinking those energy drinks? Do you have coffee with too much creamer in it, right? Sometimes you might be eating right. I'm eating salads and I'm eating protein, but maybe it's the drinks that are getting you. And it's usually your pooch is going to be those drinks, right? So start drinking water, right? Stop. And I even say stop relying on even pre-workouts or anything like that. And just, I like to say, do it raw really first, right? Just start working out and hit it. Don't even worry about creatine or anything like that. Just start hitting it and working out. And then when you hit a plateau from taking nothing, then I would say start taking protein and energy boosters or whatever it is. But yeah, I would start, right? It's like what they always told me, hey, don't ever take steroids. Don't just take them. Work out to your fullest, and when you've hit your peak, now take them. All right, so that's what I did. I worked out to my peak, and then I took the steroids. I recommend you taking steroids? Hell no. Just work out. I think I was in my best shape. In 2009, no steroids, just putting in the work, just working out. There is no shortcuts. Can steroids work? Can they get you bigger? Can these pre-workouts work? Can they help you out? Yes. What happens when you don't have it? You feel like shit, especially with steroids. You're never good enough. You're never big enough, and you always think you look like shit, no matter how great you look. So that's why I always just rely. Just do it yourself. Just do it with food, and do it with just working out. Even core workouts really help out. So, but that's what I would look into, because you can't, obviously cardio, but think about the drinks. How many carbs or even sugars are in those drinks that you're drinking? And I think a lot of people find out that drinking a lot of water will help that out right away. All right, we're past 8. I appreciate everybody for hanging on 10 minutes. Thank you, Vinny Wasco. Thank you, Sage. Thank you, El Premio Genio. I appreciate your insight. I'll go ahead and post the tips. Make sure to read them, because there are some tips that I did not go over, including all of the William Regal ones that I'll post for you guys. All right, here we go. Let's bring it in. Santino's on 3. Santino's on 3. 1, 2, 3. Santinos! All right, everybody.
Yes.
I will see you tomorrow. Make sure to write those questions for Brody and Jake. Everybody have a good night. Watch some NXT.
Hey, Joey.
W. Yes, sir.
I was talking to Pogo about that powerbomb too.
Oh, yeah, huh? What did he say?
A couple weeks ago, he was just like, "Oh fuck, cousin."
What's up, cuzzy? Yeah.
He's a legend, Coach Nugs.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. You know, like I remember, right? He was my. He would knock dudes out. He would knock dudes. He would give them this clothesline, and he would knock dudes out. He knocked my buddy Fabi Chulo out once, to where Fabi's fists were in the air still, and Fabi had no clue he was knocked out. He knocked out and broke the Juggalo's collarbone. I think it was Shaggy Two Dope, the skinny guy, right? So going in, I'm wrestling Pogo, but I'm jacked, and I'm like 230 pounds on steroids, and So I'd say, hey man, give me everything you got. Like, don't take it easy on me, because the idea was like that's Supreme's nephew. And if you fucking try to punk the kid out, Supreme's gonna say something to you. And nobody wanted anything. They didn't want to be on Supreme's bad side. They really didn't. But I told Pogo, I said, fuck all that shit, bro. Give it to me. I'm one of the boys. Give it to me. He went out there, and I think he took it easy on me, man. I really believe he did. He will tell you he didn't. But, man, I was like, give it to me because I could take it, because I could read the close. I'm not going to get knocked out like the rest of them. But I think he took it easy on me. But he definitely didn't take it easy on that powerbomb, I'll tell you that. He totally didn't.
He's funny because he's always just like, oh fuck, we'll call it in the ring. I can fucking work, cousin. You know,
you worked him.
He'll come down to Best of the West sometimes. You know? Yeah, he's a cool dude. I like him.
Yeah, Joe Applebomber. And you know how look at, they would send tapes in to XPW, and he was Joe Applebomber, and there was Mike Modest he's from that movie Beyond the Mat, and Steve Rosano and Donovan Morgan, and they all sent their 8x10s and tapes in the manila envelope. And I remember we would just, we would see all those tapes, all the wrestlers from XPW. We would put those tapes in to try to steal these guys' moves. We would try to steal their best stuff and not even like mention it to the office. Like, this guy's pretty good. But when we got to Joe Applebomber, Pogo, like, we were like, damn, this guy is good, right? And we were like pitching for him. And I remember Luke Hawks. I remember me and Smiley pitching for Luke. We were like, damn, Vic's boy is good. That's all we knew him as, Vic's boy. Vic Grimes' boy.
Mm-hmm.
And just, yeah, we would watch those videos to try to steal their moves, but we end up like watching them and saying, these guys are pretty good. And I remember they came in and they were ace in the hole because they came from APW, Roland Alexander School. And so they were kind of at a different level, kind of like slammers in sense, but I always loved working with those guys, Steve Rosano and Pogo, and yeah, all the cuzzies up there at Stoner U. yeah. Hey, there used to be 3 of them. What are they called? The Suburban Commandos. Yeah, there used to be DJ Riz.
It's just the brothers now.
Yeah, DJ Riz was with them, but then he passed away. But DJ Riz was like the leader of the Suburban Commandos, nearly. He was, and then it became the brothers and the cuzzies. So yeah, I always love those guys. I always love those guys up there. They trained Shotzi and Mansoor. Mansoor, you guys know him he's on WWE and the Saudi Arabia shows. I think he's on the regular shows too. But yeah, those are cool guys. I love those guys up there.
Will Hobbs came from up there too.
Yeah, he did, man. Right? How did he get that job? Right? He kept flying himself out. He kept flying himself out to APW on his own dime. Flying himself out in his own dime until finally they started flying him out. And then, but I think if he wrestled, he got paid. So then that kind of paid for his flight.
Right.
You know what I mean? But then they started paying for his flight, and then they gave him a contract. Now he's like in good angles and stuff. He was with Cody Rhodes, right?
He was with Sting on Sting's debut.
There you go. Yeah. How do you beat that, bro? And he couldn't even get booked out here in SoCal, right?
Right.
Yeah. Like you'd rarely, if ever, would see him on a SoCal card, if ever.
I don't think since I've been wrestling, he's been on a SoCal card.
Another one from up there is Kratos. He's really good.
Oh, yeah. He's on New Japan now.
Yeah, I think he's on New Japan, and he's even like an NWA champion. I don't know if he signed.
Oh, yeah, that's right. The tag champ, yeah.
Yeah, so that's good, right? Takes the sacrifice. And I watched his promo he did for Cody. Did you guys watch that? Did you see Kratos? Look at Kratos and Cody Rhodes, and he said that it was such a great promo. It was really good. And the only thing was, he said Cody contacted him and said, "Hey, I got a rule, man. Like I don't do business with people that talk about my dad." He goes, "But it was a great promo." That's what he told him. And fucking Kratos was like, "Damn." But I was like, "Hey, at least you're on the radar, bro." Because I said you got to keep doing that, though. Keep doing those videos. Maybe you talked about Dusty, and you shouldn't have in order to get a match with Cody, but it was still a money ass promo. It was real money. So. But yeah, hey, so you wrestled up north last week or what?
Yeah, this past Saturday I did the APW Young Lions Cup.
Okay, did you win?
Oh, you got to watch the footage, bro.
When are they gonna air it?
I think they said the 18th is because they did a lot of cuts and stuff. I mean, because we had no crowd basically, so like they did a match, then they'd cut it, and they'd have the legend Rick Luxury critiquing the matches and stuff.
Yeah. Oh man, I remember wrestling Rick Luxury. He goes, deaf in one ear, so hey, call it in my left ear, right? So call everything in my left ear, right? And I'm like, okay, yeah, I got you, bro. Don't worry about it. I was like, I'll call in both ears if I have to. Like, like, you know what I mean? Then he comes up to me when I wrestle him, and he goes, "Hey, bro, I just want to let you know, I'm legally blind." Like, why you're legal? Like, yeah, I'm legally blind. And
Well,
I'm
hold on. For the
like,
people
what
that for the people that don't know Rick Luxury, this is how he looks at his phone.
the-
Like he literally can't see, you know. And one time, my favorite story of Rick is one time, I guess he was wrestling Teddy Hart, and he goes up to DKC and he goes, "Oh, bro, you know it's kind of ironic. I'm wrestling Teddy Hart and I'm wearing pink and black." And DKC comes up to me and he goes, "Hey, bro, I think Rick's ribbing me." I'm like, "Why?" And he goes, "Well, he said he's wearing pink and black wrestling Teddy Hart." I'm like, "Okay, how's he ribbing you?" "Bro, he's wearing blue and white, you know." So I go up to Rick and I was like, "Hey, Rick, I love the pink and black, bro." And he was like, "Thanks, brother." I was like, "Hell yeah."
Oh man, I remember when he told me that he was blind and deaf in one ear. I was like, how is this fucking match gonna go? We went out there and it was great though.
He
Like
can hit a
we,
moonsault, which is the
oh
crazy thing.
yeah, he's a great worker, man. We went out there and tore it down. It was like easy, like I always say, wrestling like you're wrestling is like wrestling butter, bro. It's like smooth.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, Rick, yeah, I never really got a chance to wrestle up north a lot for some reason. Just never did it. Like the only time I wrestled in Jesus, I don't think I've ever wrestled in San Francisco, ever, ever. I think I did the closest I've gone to Oakland a couple of times and Sacramento a couple of times, but never wrestled in San Francisco. No.
I
Have
don't
you?
think anybody runs in like actually San Francisco. I think it's all like the little suburbs.
Is it?
Yeah, because I remember one time I cut a promo and I was like, "Oh, I'm in San Francisco tonight," and somebody's like, "You're in South San Francisco. It's two different cities." I was like, "Well, I didn't know. I thought it
Still
was just."
San Francisco, brother.
Yeah, I was like, he's like, "No," he goes, "It's like two different areas. It's not the San Francisco people think about." I was like, "Well, I learned something new today."
Yeah. So, hey, when's your next match, brother?
They're thinking about doing like a little, like no, just kind of like a little tape thing between Best of the West and I want to say Action Coast Wrestling. They're still talking about it, but they don't have anything fully set. But other than that, nothing. Just working in the ring still.
Yeah. Hey, Reyes says the venues in San Francisco are super strict about drink sales and stuff. So I can imagine, right? A lot of people aren't going to wrestle,
Yeah.
right? Especially on the indies, right? I mean, right, you know, the indie promoters don't even have money to be running the show, and they're still doing it. All right. Hey, you know what? I noticed you bought those sweats, brother.
Yeah.
Hey, so let me ask you. It says SB on the side, right?
Yeah, it's got like the logo like that comes. So I'm gonna stand up real quick. It's got the logo that kind of comes down like this, and then it's got SB right here. So it's got the logo and the eyes that come down here, and then it's got SB right here.
So let me ask you, does that line on the side of the pants, does it go through the pocket? Or is it
I didn't
no?
feel anything. No, I mean the pockets were good. The only thing that I would say was that you should probably order a size bigger when you're ordering.
What size did you order?
Large, but it was a little like I mean it's not like super tight, but I mean like it's snug.
Brother, you're an extra large. What are you talking about? I'm a large.
I'm
How
an
much you
extra
weigh? You're like
large.
230.
I'm 220. I've lost weight.
Oh. Well, I gained weight. I gained like 20 pounds in COVID, man. I'm like 205 now, 200.
I gained 30, but I've lost it all.
See, that's what I'm saying. I can't imagine how you 225 wearing those larges, bro. That's extra large
Well,
territory.
well, because my gym shorts are all like larges. If I get an extra large, it's like a little loose. I got a weird waist size.
Oh, but they're stylish. They're stylish. They're like the Slice Boogie joggers.
Yeah, kinda. I mean, they're just tied around my thighs. That's what it is, So I can't like be doing squats and stuff with them.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you about that because I got the other ones with the Lucha mask on the side, and I did the logo, and it went right through the pocket, so it split one of the masks up.
Oh, okay.
Oh, but
I mean,
yeah.
I didn't notice an issue with the pockets or nothing like that.
Okay, all right. Yeah, I was gonna order those too and see how they came out.
I want to check out the jogger because those were like not the joggers, but like the other pants that are on. I forgot what they're labeled as. They're
Yeah,
coming-
I got a couple. I got a pair of those coming up. I
okay.
just ordered them like last week, so they should be coming soon.
Yeah, let me know how those ones are because it was between that one. It was between those two, and I was like, I think the joggers are gonna be more comfortable.
Hey, they are comfortable, aren't they?
They are.
Hey, right? I gotta be honest. In COVID, I never wore so many sweats, so much sweats. Oh my gosh! Like I wouldn't even understand what it's like to get dressed every day now.
Yeah, they were making fun of me up there at the Young Lions because I was decked out in all my Santinos, brother. You're like, you think you got enough? You know, I had my hat, my sweater, my T-shirt, and my sweats. I was like, I just rep, dog. That's all I do.
Yeah, right. They would too if it was their shit.
Exactly.
So, all right, Wasco, yeah, you gonna be here tomorrow, brother?
Yeah. I'll be here tomorrow.
Did Jake hit you up?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Cool. So I'll see you earlier then, before the class then.
Yeah. I mean, as long as we get it, after 3, that's when I get off. So I told him that too. I said, if it's after 3, then I'm good. If it's before, I got work. So
Okay.
I don't know
Sounds good.
if it's before 3. I don't know if you can record it and then I'll watch it later or something.
No, I don't think it's gonna be before 3. I think he said 5 o'clock. Right.
Oh,
before
okay.
this
Then
class.
perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's gonna be in the Q&A tomorrow. So.
Okay.
All right, Wasco. All right, Rhea, Kristen, Stephanie, Premio, Hannah, Sage John, Alfredo. I'll see you guys. Death Calhoun's still here. Sasha, Tino, Thomas, and Taylor, and Rain. Everybody have a good night. I'm gonna watch some NXT and AEW. So I'll let you guys know what my thoughts on it tomorrow.
Watch
All right,
your
everybody.
AWA too.
What's that?
Watch your AWA too. Watch your old school.
Oh, that's the best stuff, right? So
Love it.
Bruno Sammartino versus Macho Man Randy Savage in a lumberjack match. Check it out on the network.
Boston Gardens. I already watched it from like
Oh.
February 1986.
Jesus Christ, you're a nerd, bro.
I just watched it a couple weeks ago. That's why I know it.
All right, cool, man. I'll see everybody tomorrow. Everybody take care and have a good night.
See you guys.
Guys.